Okay, everybody, welcome to the Monday, November 13th regular council meeting. Let's stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, we have got one addition to the agenda, and that's some additional bills to pay. Can we have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All in favor. Come on up, Chip.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we would like to recognize one of our firefighters that retired as of September 1st, 2023. Scott Johnson, can you come on up, please? So, Scott turned in his firefighter gear after 22 years of service for the city of Cross Lake and to our community. Scott has held many positions on the fire department. He's been a firefighter, fire apparatus operator, officer as a captain, and during his 22 years of service. Scott was our lead engineer for many years and always had a handle on the trucks and their maintenance. So we want to thank Scott for your 22 years and commitment to the fire department. And we'd also like to thank Shelley and the Johnson family for all the time that he has spent with us on Wednesday night and hundreds of calls that he's responded to. So.
Who's taking the pictures? Shelley.
Yeah, there's more room.
They block us off.
They don't want us in the picture.
That's fine.
Thank you, Scott,
What a great way to start the
for
meeting.
all you did and all you do.
Congratulations.
And good luck. Okay, next on critical issues, we have got Michelle Soldo of Soldo Consulting PC. Did you want to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to receive the information that Michelle's about to deliver to us.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All in favor.
Hold on a second.
I'm going to stand here.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Thank you. Might as well just hold it.
All right, folks, we're about to get a report. If we could go ahead, Michelle.
Well, good evening. I appreciate the chance to be here and talk with you all. I have met all of the council members here individually through discussions that I've been having. Just a recap for everyone and for the public present. In July, I believe it was July 10th, the council approved in what we call an organizational audit and assessment. I'm the external consultant that conducted that. The purpose of the...
Hey, guys. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so the purpose for the assessment was that there has been some obvious conflict with city staff, with the council, things that have been disrupting the operation of city governance. And so the idea was to bring an outside consultant in with no skin in the game other than to see success for this city. And so that was my job. A little bit about me, next year I'll have been practicing law for about 30 years. I'm a labor and employment law attorney, I'm an organizational development consultant, I'm an investigator. So much of what I do is fact-finding. I talk to people, I gather information, I make assessments about things, and that's essentially what I did for your city. So a little bit about the council members. You have in front of you a report. I want you to know that the report itself contains some private data. So I need to collect it at the end of our conversation today, and you'll have an opportunity to review it, and dissemination of the report will require attorney discussion about how to redact the private data from the report itself. So even my conversation today is going to be, I'm cognizant of what is private in the report, and so I'm going to be talking about some issues generally and some issues more specifically as it relates to governance and my findings in this assessment. So a little bit about what happened. I know that participants know that I spoke with you. And the process I determined should happen is that I spoke with all the council members. I talked with most department heads. I talked with some other city staff. I talked with the city administrator, city clerk. I received feedback about how people are feeling about the way things are going. I had the distinct pleasure of watching some of your council meetings online, and it became clear to me watching those that there's conflict, obvious conflict, and it made sense to me after having seen a few why you are looking for some help. I need you to know that when I first started this, there were mixed reviews. Some people were very excited that we at least have a process that's going to gather some information, and we're going to get some ideas about what to do. And I had some people who were concerned that maybe this process was about something other than working on problem solving. And so I tried to reassure the people who didn't feel so sure about it that that is the goal. And so the report that I'm delivering today, and that you'll be able to read in detail at another time, I think that you will see that I've made some findings about the condition of city governance, where the issues are that I've identified, and I come bearing some opportunities to do something different. That's the one thing I can say. The council is very clear individually about your charge, and that was, we know most of the bad news. We don't need you to tell us we've got some issues. We really need help figuring out what to do next. And so I'm coming to talk about trying to synthesize for you what those issues are, and I again come with a number of options for you to consider. So something I did want to mention, this question has been asked of me again and again, not just here, but in other places that I do this kind of process. It's a common question for people to say to me, is this the most dysfunctional place you've ever been? And the answer is, you are not. They're more dysfunctional, and things can be better here, right? So it's not the worst.
Where do we rate, Michelle, from 1 to 10?
A grade? Well, it depends on what day it is. It depends. But no, I would say that you are a council that is having some growing pains, and you are missing some important infrastructure in terms of like rules of engagement, expectations about what you need and what you expect from city administration. I think it's pretty clear what it is that you need, and I think there are some opportunities for you to get that and to get to that. So again, not the most dysfunctional, and room for improvement. So on July 10th, this council approved this process. Maybe I was referred by an attorney. Maybe it was your labor attorney?
Yep.
Okay. I do these quite often. And so it's not unusual for me to travel to a place like this, even though I'm from the Twin Cities. And I did all the work remotely. So this is my first time actually seeing people. Oh, hi, Chief. So I can see people in person, but I had the opportunity to see people. I think we did Zoom interviews. I had one interview with department heads. I had 2 interviews with council members and administration. The initial interview was just to get feedback about what's going well, what's not going well, what sort of change would you like to see. The second interviews that I had with council and with administration is to provide some feedback about what I understand the issues to be and to determine if folks had any suggestions for next steps. Because it's easy for me to armchair quarterback solutions. It is much harder to govern, which is what you all are doing. And so I'm mindful of that. I think it'd be important just to talk about what the 3 primary objectives of this were so that at the end we can determine if they were achieved. And I believe that they were. It was to provide an opportunity for the council and city staff to talk candidly with someone from the outside. Again, I don't have any vested interest in personalities or outcomes. My only interest is in seeing problems resolved. The second objective was to identify some potential next step opportunities for resolving the issues that you're having. And you really are having some issues that are impacting your effectiveness in terms of your capacity to govern as a council and even impacting administrative staff. And the third and maybe the most important thing, and it's probably the reason I'm here presenting in person, is that this council cared about transparency. That the public, this is for anyone else who's here, the council has not seen my report. So really what you told me is we'll take the good and the bad. Give it to us. We're only expecting to get what you give us. We will take it under advisement. So they're hearing for the first time with everyone else. And the goal of that, the objective of that was transparency, right? There isn't anything that's going to be swept under the rug. This is a council that wants things out in the open so that everyone understands what the changes are that you're likely to see happening in the future. A couple of things. I need to ask a few things of the people here getting the reports and also the public. And if we have any press here, I'm asking this of you. I'm asking that you listen to hear me and understand what the issues are. I'm asking that you refrain from using the information that I give you for any personal, professional, or other strategic advantage that is not aimed at problem solving, right? We're just getting the information to use to resolve issues. Governance is difficult, and it's easy for me, I understand, to armchair quarterback, just like it is for the rest of us to think that we could or would do it better if we weren't sitting in those seats right there. And the reality of it, and I'm sure the newer council members here can attest to that, it's unexpected, right? What you're confronted with, you have some idea, but there's no way to describe it until you're actually wearing the lead shoes of leadership. So I want you to know that while I stand in judgment to a certain degree of what the issues are, I am asking others to keep an open mind, and this council and administration is going to need the support not only from both sides, but of the community. So that may be the most important ask today, is that people listen to hear and understand, and that you not judge critically the problems that are identified, and that you support leadership in whatever action they need to take to resolve those problems. That's my ask today. All right. If we do have reporters in the room and you want to report on anything, I'm going to give you your headline. And that is, this is the takeaway. So I'm going to tell you what you should take away. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you, and then tell you. All right? And that is, there are significant issues and internal conflict within this council and between the council and city administrative staff and some department heads. So there is a division. There is a them versus us that needs to be a we. The overriding theme, though, and I can't always report this, but I'm happy to say I can report this as it relates to this council and this city. There is more that unites you than the differences that divide you. And I really had to think about what do I want you to know? Because I know that it feels like there's so much tension, turmoil, trouble. How are we ever going to get through this? But you have more in common than you're disagreeing about. And those commonalities are the things that are going to get you to the other side of this. The other thing is that the issues that you're facing are not insurmountable. As I've been mentioning all along, there are options and opportunities available, and it's going to be up to this council to decide it collectively, and it's going to need to be a collective effort. If you have never been in full agreement on anything before today, I'm asking you to be in agreement on the idea that you have to work together and move together in a unified way to resolve these issues. It's vitally important. All right. So, some findings. I made 4 key findings. The report reflects them. It reflects the findings, and then underneath each of the findings is an explanation about the basis for the findings. Now, again, some of the content of this report involves non-public data. Non-public data could be data that's private or confidential, just not something that we typically would discuss in a public meeting, in a public setting. There are some things that are more appropriately discussed in the context of a performance review, for example. And that is one of the things that I'm going to be recommending at the end. But it is the reason why some of the words you see on the page, council members, are not words I'm going to say here. All right? So the first finding, and I've already sort of summarized it in that there is some unproductive internal conflict within the council, between council members, and sometimes it's issue specific and sometimes it's mood specific. You know, we're all human beings, right? Doing our best. And sometimes we have bad days and sometimes we're frustrated, and I think I've listened to enough of your online meetings to know that some of you have had some bad days, and that the emotion of those days, I think, comes out in the meetings. The problem with the emotion and the problem with the disagreement is it is playing out publicly in your meetings. And so people like me who have nothing to do with this community can see that, and I'll tell you there were a few meetings I watched. I gasped audibly at some of what I heard because it was surprising. And I imagine for your community it's difficult, right? Because, this is our governance group. We have administrative staff, we have council that's responsible for governing and giving direction to your administrative folks. And when there is conflict, that interferes with effective governance. What I want to discuss for a few minutes is what you have in common, because sometimes it's easy to forget that. And so as I was interviewing people and talking about what are your concerns, what's going well, what's not going well, this is where it became clear to me that you have some of the most important things in common, and they are the building blocks to being able to resolve the problems that we know exist. So some of the you're collectively in agreement about the fact that everyone has an honest, earnest desire to serve the community and act in the best interest of the community, right? So that's why you're council members and you have a tough job of governing with all the trouble that brings. And the same is true for administrative staff, that they share that same earnest desire, and that's important, right? Because when we lose sight of why we're here, then we shouldn't be here. But everyone that I talk to understands why they're here, and they care about the community. There's a shared passion and dedication for your work, both council and department heads. Your department heads, they like their work. They like it, they care about it, that's why they do it, that's why they stay even when they're frustrated. There's a collective understanding of the importance of transparency, integrity, and continuous improvement. Those are the things I heard. Different words, but that's what they mean. That people do care about, again, the community, and they think that we should govern in ways, not in secret, we should govern in ways that the public understands, that we're transparent about what we're doing, we have integrity in the work we do, and that we're continuously improving. That's why I call it continuous improvement. There's a desire, I say a goal, for professional, respectful, diverse, and inclusive work environment. I mean, everyone wants that, and we're not there yet, right? Again, the conflict that happens is getting in the way, I think, of achieving fully what everyone wants, but the fact that you're on the same page about those things is a really good first step. I think that, well, I more than think, I understand from my conversations that there is a desire, again, a desire, it hasn't been achieved entirely yet, for teamwork and a productive partnership. And that requires trust. And that is one of the issues at play here, is that there's a loss of trust. There are things that have happened that have caused a breakdown in trust. And if we all have kids, we know we talk to them about trust, right? And it takes longer to build it than it did to lose it. And so that is one of those things that is going to be a significant step, I think, for everyone to figure out how to rebuild trust here. The other thing everyone understands is that this negativity and division and strife that you can see if you watch some reruns of old council meetings, and maybe in some of the day-to-day conversations, is that everyone understands that is not a desirable condition. No one wants it. No one's wanted it. I think everybody is feeling, well, when I came in, I really thought this is a good group of people who seem to have lost hope about the idea that we can do anything that's going to resolve these issues. And I guess I'm here to tell you that don't be hopeless, because we have, there are some solutions. The getting to the solutions, though, that is a collective responsibility. There isn't any single person. If Mayor Nevin is the only person that's on board with initiatives, we're not going to get there. If the council is divided about solutions, we're not going to get there. If administration isn't on board with solutions and department heads aren't on board with solutions and they are not urging their staff to be on board with solutions, we're not going to get there. It's a collective effort. All right. So that's the first finding, pretty general finding about there are issues, they're not insurmountable, and there's going to be a requirement that everyone's on board to get there. And so that's one thing I'm asking you to think about, is where do you sit with it? Are you willing to do the work? If you're not, I don't know where this lands in terms of problem solving. The second finding is that I identified 3 key issues that negatively impact council governance. So council governance is the ability of this council body to be effective in the work that you were elected to do for the city. There are 3 issues. The first is there's a significant internal control issue that is created by, you have a city administrator that is also the finance director. And I know that some cities have had that dual role in the past, and there is an inherent conflict of interest in there being the leader of an organization that also controls the finances, the financial reporting, the audits that happen. I know that this city's auditors have identified that internal control issue in past audits, and there is a reason for it. There are checks and balances required in every government organization. It's checks and balances as simple as having someone write the check and having someone deposit it, right? Someone verify what the check amount is. We have two people, or we divide up those duties to make sure, two things we're looking for, to make sure there's no inadvertent error, right? Because it can happen, again, we're humans and we're fallible. So mistakes can happen, and sometimes we won't notice a mistake. And the other thing is we don't want, there is the risk always of some kind of financial impropriety happening. Right now, I want to be really clear about this. I don't want anybody to think that I said that because anything is happening here that I have a concern about. There isn't any indication there's any problem with financial reporting or the condition of finances or that anyone's doing anything wrong. I don't know how much of a concern this potential internal control issue has been for this council, but as an external consultant, I can tell you, and the League of Minnesota Cities would tell you, that this internal control issue is an organizational risk for this city. And it is something that this council needs to think about, and there are ways to consider it and options available. Now, I'm the outside consultant, I'm an attorney, but I'm not your attorney. So I can't tell you what to do, and I'm pretty glad about that I'm not responsible for having to actually tell you what you can and cannot do. Again, I'm just delivering options today. But the internal control issue is a big deal. Should be at the top of your list of considerations. It is at the top of the list of recommendations you'll find in my report in terms of action items. There is, as a second finding, that there's evident, obvious conflict between city administration and the council. This is a source of conflict that has played out publicly from the reports I've had and the discussions I've had. It plays out privately. Those dynamics have damaged relationships and trust, right, with this council and with others. And that's a significant issue that needs to be addressed. Now, the specifics of the events and behavior that I believe has damaged working relationships, they fall into the category of more private information that's more appropriately discussed at another time, but the report does discuss it. And there's the third element related to issues impacting city governance is there's a priority business need for comprehensive staff and council training on issues like clarifying your respective roles, your responsibilities and authority, and establishing a process to ensure accountability. I can say with 99% certainty that many of the problems, much of the conflict between administration and the council can be resolved with some clear discussion and guidelines around who does what, right? Because I think on both sides there's this feeling that you're stepping in my lane, you shouldn't be here doing this thing, that's not your role. And I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about what the council's role is. I think that the council has been unnecessarily limited in terms of the kinds of questions you're able to ask, the kind of information you're able to see. And I think that's because there is some misunderstanding about what your role is, what you have the right to see, to consider, to make decisions on behalf of the city. And I think that you need clarification about your roles, responsibility, and authority. And there are some things that this council might not be clear about in terms of the difference between what you do and what the administrator does. And so there are things that the administrator is going to manage, like the personnel, for example, and the practices that happen. You create policy, and you make decisions about finances and all of the things. Your administrator, though, is your chief officer for running basically operating the ship, right? And so I think it's easy to confuse who is responsible for what. The reason I believe this is a significant issue is because I hear it in the meetings. I hear things like, questions like, why do you need to know that? When someone asks for information. I hear that information isn't provided, that needs to be provided. And those are not the sorts of discussions you need to be having, right? There's certain information you're entitled to, and there's certain information you're not. And it's not rocket science, but it can be confusing when the lines are blurred. And I think that the division of duties, responsibilities, and authority, here the lines are blurred. And they can be very clear. And then everyone has solid legs to stand on, right? When you have an issue or a concern about someone being in the right lane or the wrong lane, you have some basis to say what that is. And so you really need some training about that. And training is available. It's a thing I'll discuss at the end. So there is a priority business need for that. The same need, I think, and actually, I had the opportunity to talk to the city clerk, talk to the city administrator, as the city hall staff is, I guess, what I call you, but the administrative team, and the same kind of training that's available. So League of Minnesota Cities is who represents you all, right? They're your risk managers. If you get in trouble, they represent you. And they would prefer that they help you rather than defend you. And so there's lots of training available, training for the council, training for the city clerk, really great training available for the administrator about everybody's respective roles, and everyone could use a refresher on that, right? I don't even know what training has been available up till this point, and usually it's not enough. So when you don't have the luxury of being close to the Twin Cities where all the meetings happen, you're stuck being online. And I don't know, other than Councilmember Farter, who has been doing online, not many people, it can't keep the attention of many people, those courses, right? So everybody needs training. Training is available. It's a priority business need for this council. All right. A third finding is that there are key administrative functions that are not being performed here. So things like routine department head and staff meetings, annual department head performance reviews. It's unclear to me if department heads are required or just are doing it all, performance reviews for their staff. There are some compliance issues I believe exist with respect to record keeping. I don't think the city has personnel files. I don't know, if you do, I'm not sure what form they are. And there should be a lot of things in those files, a lot of really important things as it relates to city business. The record keeping piece of this is pretty significant, and I think that it needs to be addressed more formally. You could do a really simple records audit just to determine what are we supposed to be keeping records for. There's a training on this too. What do we actually have, and why it's important that you're keeping records is because you've all heard about, I don't know how many data requests you get here. You might get some. Occasionally you get some. I know the press is typically in smaller towns, so that's where you get a data request. But in larger cities, we'll just use city of Minneapolis, for example, they get hundreds of data requests. And people have an absolute right to see some of your emails, your text messages, your, there is a lot of data that is public data that is accessible in the name of transparency, right? The Minnesota Government Data Practices Act says that all data is public unless it is specifically classified as not public. Not public is either private or confidential. So I'm concerned that this city is not aware and is not maintaining data in accordance with either the statute or the data retention requirements. So there's some data that you keep for 3 years, and some you keep for 6 years, and some you keep for always, and then some goes away pretty quickly. But it's not my sense, I can't say with certainty, but it's not my sense that those requirements are clear or that they're being followed here. And that's pretty important. That's another thing the league cares about, because there's liability around failing to maintain data, not responding timely to data requests, and disclosing information you should not disclose. So there are actually penalties for that. In some cases, it's a misdemeanor violation. In some cases, there are fines associated with it. So that's one of the areas that is going to need to be addressed here. So, and I think another administrative void is really proactively and collaboratively conferring. I mean, you have legal counsel. You had a city attorney. Maybe you're going to have another city attorney. I know it's hard to get attorneys either that want to do it in the town this size, in the community they work in. Sometimes it's nice to go outside, right, because they don't know people. But you have a labor attorney now, and there are things like open meeting law requirements. I mean, the city clerk, I mean, that's such a huge responsibility for a city clerk to manage that, those open meeting law requirements. It's, I mean, I don't envy the complexity of it. It's difficult. You know, even Government Data Practices Act issues. I've been, next year is 30 years for me, and every time I have a open meeting law question, I have to read the statute again. Every time. Same words, they didn't change, not once, but it's so particular and so important that we follow those rules that we have to read it every time and we have to be absolutely sure. And even someone like me who's done this work for a very, very long time, unless I was representing cities and counties, which I don't, I'm an external consultant, I don't have clients anymore in terms of legal representation. I'm just not that familiar, even though I could probably quote the statutes to you verbatim, all right? So I think it's like a technical error to have representation, good legal representation, and not to be conferring. And honestly, if you confer on the front end, you might have heard the saying, use me now or use me later. The use me now is get your answers now, let's do it right. Because it takes a lot more time and effort to unwind some mistake that we've made, okay? And no one here wants to make a mistake. There isn't anyone here that wants to make that. And just even on the open meeting law issue, for example, you know, if administrative staff, if you have concerns, you should be able to consult. And your job really is to run interference for this council and make sure they understand what the rules are. So it shouldn't be an aha, gotcha moment. It should be instructive, informative, helpful. Because administration and the council, you are a governance team. You have different roles, but you have the same goals and agenda. And that should be helping each other be successful. And that hasn't always been happening here. In fact, I've seen the opposite of that. I think there's been some undermining for reasons maybe of emotion or frustration, and that just has to stop. I mean, it's as direct as I can be about it. It has to stop. Because when that happens, what it does, if you think that you're working against a particular individual, you're not. You are working against your community. That is your charge, is to serve the community. All right. Fourth finding goes back to, the fourth is that there are two significant issues I saw hindering the city governance and operational effectiveness. And again, one of the issues relates to the council's relationship, trust, and working relationships with administrative staff. That has to be improved. There are some specific findings about things that I've been able to verify have happened that have damaged trust. And again, the specifics of that, not appropriate for this public conversation. The more appropriate part of this finding is, and this is probably the most obvious thing, and it's the most solvable thing, and that is your public meetings lack structure and professional decorum. Would anyone disagree with that? Again, I mean, I see it, the public, when they see it, the structure you're missing is that there isn't, you have an agenda, which is great, and the purpose of the agenda is to provide structure to what the discussion is going to be, and it's to lead through the motions and allow for note-taking, but you're not using Robert's Rules of Order. You're not using the tools that are available to a governing body to move a meeting along. I've seen public, under Robert's Rules of Order, it's very defined about we have a public comment set time, and there are limits to the time, and there's a reason for that, and that's to give an opportunity to say something, give more people an opportunity to keep the discussion concise so it doesn't become rambling, and move on, and to conclude meetings in less than 4 hours. You all have had some like 4-hour meetings here. That is insane. You all come to these 4-hour meetings? That's a long time. And I know that there are some issues that are emotional and heated, and maybe they might take up 4 hours, but on the whole, it's not an industry standard, let me just say. And it's probably not the most productive use of your time or the community's time. So there are, one of the attachments to this report, I've got a cheat sheet for Robert's Rules of Order, just to give the council some idea of like, what does that look like? What is the structure? There is a structure for making motions and for seconding motions and knowing when to make those and what to do. And again, controlling the time that people speak about things. There's training available for that. I would advise this council to have that. I want to tell you, though, it's easy for me again to say, oh, you should use Robert's Rules of Order. But it's not intuitive. It's not basic. I'm just going to be honest about it. It's going to take some learning to get it right. But once you do get it right, it's going to really change the life of these meetings and how everybody feels about showing up, and how it'll really give you some structure and control around the discussions. The rules are for structure, efficiency, equal participation. It helps with meeting minutes. There's a shared language, so everyone knows how to make a motion, how to second a motion. Also in the report, I actually provide a link. There is, Robert's Rules of Order is used so often and so consistently that it's now in the public domain. So we used to have to buy the book and look through the rules, and now it's actually, there's a link. The link's in the report. You can go on the site and you can get a free copy of Robert's Rules of Order, an updated copy of that, and you can learn how to use it, but I would really advise that you learn it through some training. So a couple of things. So there were 4 findings. I mentioned the 4 findings. The conclusion that we all need to reach here is that the status quo, what has been happening until now, is really not sustainable. It is not. That this council needs to take strategic and decisive action to address and work to resolve the concerns and issues identified. And I was considering what it is that I could advise this council about potential next steps. There are, in terms of the considerations to address the internal control issues, access issues, trust issues, the council can be considering what the options are in terms of that internal control issue with the dual role of city administrator and finance director. That's a conversation you need to have. It's a conversation you could legitimately have with your attorneys, 1 or 2, League of Minnesota Cities can advise on that. That is not a new issue to them. It is something that they have information about, and they will tell you what the risks of that are. I already mentioned at the council, the administrator, the city clerk, everyone could use some training on respective roles, duties, and responsibilities. And I'm not talking about the kind of training where the council goes over here and here's what they're responsible for, and then the city clerk goes to her own training and the administrator goes to his own training. Everybody needs to go to everybody's training. Does that make sense to you? So that you know what they're being told, and you know what their duties and responsibilities are, and they know what yours are. And then I would urge some discussion following those trainings about where are the questions and where are the gray areas, because there are gray areas. Sometimes the lines are very close, and that's where you need to use your attorneys in terms of helping you understand where can I rest my foot on which side of the line. So training is going to be important. Also, I talked with a number of people who, I'm going to use the word sad. I think that I talked to some people who feel sad about how relationships have deteriorated, right? There isn't anyone that wants to have conflict, to be in disagreement. There were relationships that were solid and good, and then some things happened and that changed. And I see a group of people that has a strong desire to get back on the same page. And some of it is going to require just having some hard discussion about what hurt your feelings, whatever the misunderstanding was, some agreement that we're going to move past this because it doesn't help us to hold a grudge about the thing that happened 5 years ago or 6 years ago. We've got to move past it. What I'm telling you, I'm making it sound easy, but I know that it's difficult. So one of the things I did was I checked with the league, really just interested in knowing what services they have available, and they have a mediator who would help have some mediated discussions. I mean, it would be, if a employee or if an employee wants to meet with a council member and just have it out about whatever the thing was because you want to establish a better working relationship, they have someone that could come on out and help you with that. The same thing with internal conflict between any council members. We won't violate the open meeting law if we have one-to-one meetings that are mediated. And I think that, I talked to a number of people about feelings that they have about and feeling stressed and tired of the conflict. And so I feel like people are at a place where they want to let it go. And so I would capitalize on that place that we're at and utilize the services of this league mediator if that's something that individuals are willing to do. It should be voluntary. We shouldn't be mandating that people make up, or talk about it. But I do believe, I asked a number of people, would you be willing to do that? And uniformly, people said, yes, I would. I would do it. And so we have to encourage that and make the opportunity available. The issues around leadership and trust and relationships, those are things that you're going to need to resolve by setting and effectively managing expectations. So if this council has expectations for administrative staff, I don't think those are entirely clear. And that's the purpose of written expectations. That's a tool. It's a best practices tool. Another tool is performance evaluations. You should be setting expectations. As a council, you should be deciding what those are. You should be communicating them. You should be supporting success in meeting those expectations, and you should be holding folks accountable. And that, again, that's a performance management process. I'm being very general about that because, again, data privacy implications of that, but I think that that is a necessary next step for this council, so that everyone's on the same page about what the expectations are and how to meet them. Because there's nothing worse than trying to meet expectations that you don't understand, right? Or that are not clear. All right, so I've hinted at this. This is kind of my in-closing thing to you. The League of Minnesota Cities, it offers foundational governance training, customized training, consultant expertise to address internal conflict, I mentioned through mediated discussions. The League consultants can help you with establishing rules of engagement, which I think you need. You have, I think Council, Member Farter, you proposed, and I think it was passed, what do we call that?
It's basically a resolution for conduct, respectful conduct and
Yes,
within the council.
so we resolved to be nice to each other, right? That's kind of what it says. We're resolved to be respectful and professional, and why do we pass those things? Because it's not happening. You also have a really nice respectful workplace policy. I just took a look at that, and it's a really good policy, and it's very clear what we should and should not do, and yet, sometimes it happens. So some review of the policies would be helpful. But getting league assistance, I think, even training, they can probably assist with some training on Robert's Rules of Order. I did make a call to the league and ask what is available, and is there anything special? Like, can we get some special help? Can we get some?
Get it all.
Yeah, we need it all. And, what do you offer? And so one of it might be the very last page of the report, it's an attachment. It's my league communication. So I actually went online and put in a little, hey, wondering what you offer. And then I got this wonderfully comprehensive response from I think it's a league attorney, actually. And in a very short amount of time, she sent all these links. So these are links that you can log into to get access to courses. In February or March, there is a council foundational, I think it's a 2-day class that the league offers. You'd have to go to the Twin Cities for that, but it would be an amazing opportunity for this council to kind of have some training and also meet other councils, members of other councils. And, if you already don't have enough contact, I think you're going to be amazed and feel supported in that the crazy isn't all yours, right? Everybody has just a little bit of it, and it's hard sometimes. And it's great to meet people who are walking in the same shoes you're wearing sometimes, and to get some ideas about what to do. So I would highly encourage that this council, if you can make it a priority, to go to that. I imagine you could attend it online as well, because Teams and Zoom are kind of the way we do things now. But the in-person thing, I think, would be more beneficial, both for relationship building and also just for attention purposes. I have a hard time if I'm just online watching something. There's also a foundational course for the city clerk. I'd highly recommend that you go to that. I mean, the way they described it to me is you would be meeting, and I think you might even have professional organizations that you go to, just being able to connect with someone else who knows your trials in the role. And the same thing with the administrator. I know that you have your professional organizations, but I think some league training would be really important. Now, the one thing that the league said is they do offer some customized training, and you sort of have to be considered for it. And I might have stepped out of my lane when I asked them to consider you. Could you consider them? And because I don't want to, we have some momentum coming into this, and I don't want it to stop the minute I walk out the door. So the great news is that last week they told me if this council asks for assistance, they will provide you with customized assistance. They will send someone here to do the mediated discussions, to do the training that you need. And I think that's that's kind of white glove treatment. So they're willing to do it. I mentioned that I was coming here today and that I was going to propose it or at least not propose it, but tell you it's an option. And again, the trigger for them to provide the assistance is that you as a council have to request it. All right, so that is the sum total of this, the findings. What I do want to say is that I appreciated the opportunity to talk with everyone. It is hard to it's hard to talk to someone you don't know. So that's my job, is to get people to talk to me. But it's also hard to be honest about what it is that's really the root of the things that are bothering you. And I think people were pretty honest in this process. And I do think that that's what this council was looking for. And so I think you provided that, and staff stepped up to the plate on that. And so just as a council, I'd urge you it was a hard thing for staff to do, and I think to acknowledge that would be important. And just for staff too, I do think there are a number of staff that really recognize this was a real initiative on the part of the council. It was no small lift to approve this and to have somebody, have all these meetings and write this report, but here we are. So I'm wishing you the best of luck on your next steps, and that's it for me.
First of all, thank you.
Yes.
Secondly, I have a quick question. You mentioned, a possible, meetings that we could go to together, but would that be violating the open meeting rules?
Well, you're not meeting, so, and you have
We could all
to.
attend the same
Yes,
conference? Okay.
and that's a great labor attorney question, and that is not me.
Okay.
So I'm going to, but councils attend all the time and have training. And when the league comes to train you, you're all going to be in the room. The idea, though, is you're not supposed to be discussing city business, right? So that's probably but that's a good question, because we wouldn't want anyone,
Right.
don't go to lunch together. That might be one of the things. Is there any other question that I can answer?
Can we keep these?
Oh.
I'm sorry. Can we keep these? The stuff at the very back, the Robert's rules and stuff?
Yeah, let me look and see what your, So, yeah, I have to keep the reports back because of some of the private data, but.
Yep. Oh, I understand.
Yeah, so all of the attachments, I've just attached your council minutes that show, I think this council had a discussion early about doing this, and then you tabled it to decide scope and cost, and then we came back together and approved it. That's what that is. But yeah, I think absolutely you should take the Robert's Rules of Order, and also this, I would say this league email, because then you have some idea of what's available. So this might not be a bad time to just take the ballot.
Yep.
And the other 3 attachments are just your meeting minutes, so you're welcome to those, because they're public.
Thank you much, Michelle.
Thank you.
Michelle, thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Very, very well
Yeah.
written.
And I do believe we have to have follow-up. And I think that's a discussion we're going to have probably next.
Right. I do want to make a motion that we respectfully accept all of the information that you have provided us as a council and as a staff.
Okay.
Okay, all
Oh,
in
we have to do
favor?
that. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Michelle, thank you much.
And then I'd like to make a motion that the city council request the League of Minnesota Cities assistance to mediate conversations between individual city council members and city hall staff, and that the League of Minnesota Cities provide the city council and city hall staff training related to communication, roles, potential conflicts of interest, open meeting law, meeting decorum, and Robert Rules of Order.
Sounds like that's kind of a stage.
I'll second that motion, Jackson.
All right, we have a second on that?
Yeah, somebody did.
I think Sandy did.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Can we maybe ask someone to follow up, so 5 of us won't? So,
Contacting the league. Yeah. Jackson, do you want to?
Yeah, I can do
take
it.
the rein on that?
I'll
Okay.
take the rein.
Okay.
Okay, moving right along. We've got a public hearing.
With
Vacation of road right-of-way of Trout Beach in the plat of Manhattan Beach entrance addition between 12,880 and 12,886. Who is going to take this? Ellen?
It's open for public comment.
Yeah. Come on.
TJ. Go to Zoom.
Good evening, council. I wasn't sure, according to the agenda, if you want me, right now it says public items.
Could I get your name and address, please?
Yeah, I'm sorry. My name is Pat Davern, 12886 Manhattan Point Boulevard, Cross Lake. Okay, thank you. Yeah, anyway, first of all, I'd like to say, I'm assuming that you've received the comments from the previous meetings that we've had on, I think it's September 5th and September 27th, I believe. Everybody has seen those, I'm assuming? Okay, very good. First of all, I'd just like to say that my mother and I own the property at 12886 Manhattan Point Boulevard. Excuse me. And we've owned that property since 1987. I would like to first say that when we bought the property, we bought it from a Mr. Landy, who was a kind of a farmer in the area. I don't know if anybody's familiar with him. But we bought that property. When the realtor sold us the property, she told us specifically that we were not allowed to alter or change that public right-of-way because it was owned by the city of Cross Lake. And we said, yes, we understand that. So a couple years later, 12880, which is the adjacent property on the other side of that public right-of-way, was purchased by Mr. Doug Murray. Mr. Murray then proceeded to clear-cut the entire public right-of-way and planted grass and trees, which started contributing to the erosion problem, which is now happening on that public right-of-way. That property was then purchased by Mr. Thompson, who at that point, later on, asphalted the public right-of-way. Now, council, I cannot speak to that because I was not involved in those meetings or privy to those notes, although I can tell you that I did not personally give approval, nor did my mother, who owns that property, to asphalt that public right-of-way, which is now causing more of an erosion problem of water going down towards the lake. So again, and that's on the 12880 side of the property, the public right-of-way. I'd like it again noted for the record that we gave no approval to have this done, and we were not part of any of that decision-making process. The water erosion is getting worse going down that property, and I believe I emailed some pictures to some of you, and also the city clerk as well, showing about that water going down the property. Council, I've heard this property described as a problem right-of-way. Let me assure you that my mother and I are not the problem. Let me be very clear on that. And I want to make that important distinction because of the things that have happened to that property. We've basically kept our agreement. When the realtor told us we could not make any changes, we didn't. All those changes were executed by 12880, which is across the public right-of-way. So in conclusion, very quickly, and I'll try to stay within my 3 minutes according to the previous speaker who said that was very important, by the way. The erosion problem is happening. I gave you copies of the pictures. There's also utilities on that property as well. For those of you who don't know, there's a power pole. We get service from that power pole. I'm not sure if anybody else does, because I'm not sure where the wires go there, but there is a utility pole towards the middle front of that public right-of-way going down, just so everybody knows it. And if you've been out there, you've probably seen that. But I'm not sure what utilities are being serviced there. At this point, I'd also like to request that you vote no to vacate. And at this point, do you as the council or the mayor have any questions for me?
I don't right now.
I'm under 3 minutes, I think.
Well done.
Thank you.
No, thanks.
No question? Thank you very much.
TJ, do you have any comments about this? Oh. Okay, go ahead. Sure, come on up.
Never mind. I thought Thompsons were gonna go.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is John Lally. John Lally, L-A-L-L-Y. My wife and I, Mary, have a property 2 doors down from the public access, the right-of-way, which is a question. And we're at 129
Address, okay, I'm sorry.
12904 Manhattan Point Boulevard. And the reason I'm here tonight is, first of all, I'm a little confused as to why they're even considering vacating this particular public access. I've been on Manhattan Beach all my life. My folks had a place down the road by the point, which was on a huge hill, and they also shared a public access. Now, that public access is not accessible for the public. The one next to Mr. Davern and Mr. Thompson is very accessible. In fact, it's almost a perfect elevation for getting down there with a snowmobile. We do have neighbors that live across the street from us that don't have the luxury or the money to live on the lake. They're not blessed like some of us are. And they would definitely like to use that property to access the lake during the summertime. I personally like to use that public access for snowmobiling. I'm an ice fisherman. The last 15, 20 years, I haven't been able to use it because there's a particular neighbor that blocks the public access in the wintertime by storing his dock on it. Now, that part of the public access is Manhattan Beach, it's not Cross Lake, so I know, talking to Paul Ellen, that that's not supposed to be there, the dock, and I don't think he's willing to vacate the Manhattan Beach part of the property. I think it's fair that the intended use for that property is for people to use. I just don't understand why we want to just hand it over to other people so they can just inherit a larger piece of the lakeshore property. Why not let the people that really need it use it? I come up in the wintertime, so actually my favorite time of the year, and I watch the snowmobiles go up and down the road. The only place they can get on Trout Lake is by going to Manhattan Beach. Manhattan Beach is privately owned, right? It's not public. So if you go down to the public access, which is really hard to get by snowmobile, there's a spring that goes into there, and it's kind of a dangerous place to enter the lake. So I'm in favor of not vacating the property. I really wish you'd all consider perhaps vacating some of the other lots on that lake that are public access that really have no value to the public. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Hey, Alec, thank you for coming.
I think Steve would like to speak first.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
hi, this is Steve and Jeannie Thompson. We're at 12880. And we've been there for 21 years, and I don't remember when we were there in the winter, anybody ever using that easement for snowmobiling. Now, getting back to this erosion issue, there is no erosion there. This last summer we were there, there's a pretty big rainstorm, and I went out right after the rainstorm, and Davin's pine cones and pine needles all washed over to the grass, and the grass did its job. It stopped the pine needles, and it stopped the pine cones, and stopped the water. So I didn't break them back on his deal. But we're against the vacating for one big reason. I've shown proof to that to the city. My concern is that Davern will be blocking half the easement. He has over the years piled up brush, logs on the easement. I sent a video to several people at the city showing the pile there. At the Parks and Rec meeting, he said he couldn't lift it to move it away. Well, my petite wife and I, who are both in our 70s, we took 5 trips down to the county and the city dump to get rid of it. In the video I sent to the city, you can see we were trying to back out of our driveway onto the city easement, and he pulled his trailer behind us on the easement to block us. So I had to go forward and back several times to get out of their driveway. So we're concerned, if you vacate this, it's gonna be like a 2-year-old piling up stuff to prohibit us from being able to use the easement to back out. Just watch the video I sent to several people at the city, and that kind of sums up what we just said.
Thank you. I'm a little confused, though. I've heard from three of you that don't want to vacate it, and we're here for a vacation. Who's asking for it to be vacated?
The city.
The city is, because Davern's caused so much problems with the city.
Oh, so they want to just unload it. Okay.
I
Yeah,
don't think it came before the city council, did it?
no, it hasn't, but it's been brought up at the Parks and Rec meeting. It's common knowledge. I mean, we know about it. See, he keeps claiming there's erosion. There's no erosion. There's no erosion.
I'll be happy to show you people pictures of the erosion.
I think this guy wants to talk.
I know for sure there's erosion.
Doug, you want to come up?
The erosion has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, hold it now. One at a time, guys.
Yeah, Doug Wanable here. I've lived here all my life. My dad, probably about the fourth generation.
Where have you lived all your life, Doug?
Cross Lake. I'm in Cross
We need
Lake,
your
up on
address.
Highway 1.
We need your address.
Pardon me?
Shar needs your address.
12249 County Road 1, Cross Lake. But anyway, when that property was subdivided up on Manhattan Point, I knew the two brothers, Cavalies, Al and Ed. And the reason they put those little fingers in there is for backlot people to have access to the lake. That was all. Footpaths. That's what it was designed for. But now, of course, one's got his garage on part of it, and they paved the road down one side of it, and it's all not anything it was designed for. And I'd like to see, I mean, I've seen the legal deed that was drawn up back in the 40s when they did this. And it said, at no time shall this property be subdivided. It was right in the writing. I mean, if we're gonna honor these deeds, that's been years ago, we should honor them all, not just say, well, he's a pretty good buddy of mine, we'll give him access in. And these things are popping up, there's very expensive real estate on Trout Lake, of course. And I'm not in favor of any of it. And then they start getting roads down there, and then there's erosion going in the lake, and just leave it as is, the way it was designed for years ago.
Thank you, Doug.
You're welcome.
Anybody have anything?
Can Steve Thompson bring one more point in?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, as far as blacktopping, I worked with the city on that, and they granted us permission to blacktop it and change the contour after Manhattan Point Boulevard was graded, and it was graded to a point where all the water drained in our garage. So I worked with Mike, I worked with Ted, and the city council approved for us to be able to change the grade and blacktop the driveway. And I did everything that Ted suggested, and the city engineer, as far as to mitigate any drainage. And to my understanding, it all worked.
Okay, all right.
Do you recollect roughly how long ago that was?
It was approximately 5 years ago. Shar would probably remember for sure.
Council, I put on this agenda to go up to public comments and then stop, because I went back into some files and found information going back to 2006 regarding this issue that I think is important for all of you to look at. I haven't put it all together. I would like to transcribe some minutes that I found going back to 2006, 2007 that I think is important for you to hear.
So you're looking for a motion to table this until
I
we have
am.
the information?
I am.
I will make that motion.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Any other comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
And
Opposed?
thank you, Shar, for bringing that
Yeah, thanks, Shar.
to our attention.
Okay, so it's tabled until we have a chance to look at it. Next is public forum. Action may or may not be taken on any issue raised. If council requires more information or time for consideration, the issue will be placed on the next agenda. Speaker must state their name and address. Does anybody have anything for public forum? Not seeing anybody walking up, we'll close public forum. Next is the consent calendar. Everybody had a chance to look through it?
Yes.
Any questions?
No.
Motion?
I moved to approve as submitted.
Do we have a second on it?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Mayor and council members report. First, we got a resolution accepting donations. What do I got here? Just a second, let me get caught up here. That's what happened. Sandy, would you straighten out my book?
Right here, yeah. Here?
I got it right there. Is that it? Okay, sorry about that. F1. Okay, I'm back. We have got a donation from the Pell Foundation for $11,832.91 for the Pine River Overlook Park. Another one from the Pell Foundation for $614 for benches. One from the Cross Lake Firefighters Relief Association for $949.88 for a refrigerator at the Fire Hall Apparatus Bay. We've got a donation from B. Zahn for $500 for the fire department. An anonymous donation for $100 for the dog waste station. And a donation from Maureen Novak for $25 for the library. Do we have a motion to
I'll make a
approve?
motion that we accept the donations as listed.
Okay. I second that.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. God, Jackson, did you mess my papers up?
No, I didn't touch your papers.
F2, okay.
Don't get them close to the stove.
Warren Stock. Warren, you got to come up, huh? Request for city to maintain Island View Lane. Is this the last time?
Last time. Okay, Warren Stock, 13421 Island View Lane. Before I get too far, I wanted to thank each one of the council members for all the time that they dedicated to the running of the city. I don't think most people realize how many countless hours you all spend here doing this job. So from myself, from me and my family, say thank you to that.
Thank you for that acknowledgement, Warren.
Okay. The next part is, last time I was standing here, we talked about the emergency vehicles being responsive to an emergency on Island View Lane. I want to say again, thank you to, on Monday, we had another emergency vehicle or situation. 75-year-old man across the street from me fell, couldn't get up. At the response time for the fire department, the emergency vehicle and the police department was phenomenal. Within minutes, they were there helping that gentleman back up. And I want to say he spent a couple days in the hospital, but he's back. So this is the critical part of what I have to say, is that I'm not looking for the maintenance part. I don't care about the snowplow. What I want to be is part of the city. We want to be a city street. Okay, what a city street means is that you do all the ordinances that everyone else has of the 55 miles of city ordinances that are in effect. The main reason I started this 5 years ago was I have a young autistic granddaughter who was almost hit by a car coming off of 16 on our one-lane road. So my quest was, how do I make this road safe when people come on? Okay, so I went to the city, and this is what you needed to do. So they said, make your street 14 feet wide and all this sort of thing. We made it 18 feet wide. I want to make sure cars can come and go. from this perspective. I want to make sure emergency vehicles can get down our street in January, February, March, when there's 3 feet of snow. Unfortunately, I'm getting to be an old geezer, and I can't keep that road clean forever. And I want to make sure the rest of my people on this street have those safe accesses to these emergency vehicles. But I also want to be able to, I asked the question, can I get a slow children at play sign? You're not a city street. Okay? Can I get a protection for a 10-ton dump truck not to come down my street during the road restrictions? You're not a city street. Okay? Parking, patrols, all of those things. We're not a city street. My understanding, in 1990, we came to everyone and asked them if they wanted to be a city street. And if they said, make your street, they were assessed to bring their streets up to par, and they became city streets. I wasn't here, nor one of my neighbors. That was 33 years ago, beside the point. Our road right now more than exceeds most of the street specifications in the city. The only concern that I've found that anyone had was when they turn around and plow snow, they may dig up a little grass down on the end. Keep in mind that's a boat ramp, parking for other boat things during the day. If you dig up any grass, you brought it from the neighbors because it wasn't ours. We didn't have any grass down there. Okay, so what I'm asking on behalf of my neighbors is we just want to be part of the city of Cross Lake. Sorry, working on this, getting better. Cross Lake. We want to have those same protections and all those things that everyone else has in the city.
Warren, the last time we talked to you, were you at a council meeting or was it Public Works?
Last time you talked to me was after Public Works.
But you came to
But it
the
was a
last
council
meeting too. And Jake, we talked about enforcement and what you can and can't do down there, correct?
Yep.
Did you look into it at all? Or is that just you got the answer and you can't do anything?
But with that, it doesn't comply.
I mean, I'm confused by that because
each time
I live on a private road, and if I was doing something illegal, I would sure as hell hope you guys would be down. I know, but I don't know.
There's a difference between traffic and criminal, Dave. And I think you're looking at it, if there's something criminal, somebody's beating somebody up or something like that, they can go in and deal with it. But if it's, I don't know, can you even deal with DUI? I don't even think you can.
My example would be, if
DUI?
on your city street, if you left a vehicle in the middle of the road or on the side of the road blocking half the road, okay? According to the city, which I understand, I appreciate the police department, it's only a violation if an emergency vehicle can't get by it. Not that it's parked in the road, not that it's sitting there. One sat there for 3 months last winter. 3 months. They finally got removed when the license plates finally expired. Then they were able to approach it because the city had it based on you can't leave these unlicensed vehicles. But for those 3 months.
I appreciate your frustration. I just don't know what we can do about it.
Can I ask why it is not a city street? I mean, who determines that designation? How can a street become a city?
We do.
Us.
The engineer, they put in a road that comes up to engineered specs. Turnarounds, width, there's a lot of stuff.
But the biggest thing is the plowing.
Standards.
It's the plowing of the snow is the issue.
Right, well, I mean, I know that Public Works Commission unanimously voted to deny the request for maintenance, but you're not asking for maintenance, you're just asking for.
I'm asking to be a city street.
So no more plowing? You don't want plowing now?
I want you to, if you plow all the others 55 miles.
Okay,
plow
because
mine
at first
too.
I thought you said you weren't worried about the snow
Right.
and the maintenance.
And I no offense here, but I think I have that deduct for property insurance or property taxes. I pay a couple bucks.
Sandy, in the city ordinance, there are city specs for roads.
Right.
And so any new roads, they have to meet those standards. And Phil Martin, our city engineer, he's somewhere.
Yeah.
And Pat went out and looked, and it does not meet all the specifications to become a city road.
Is there anything that Warren could do to
Well, the
change?
specifications, as I addressed that at another meeting, was, okay, the specifications call for a 66-foot easement, 66 foot. I don't think you have a street in Cross Lake that has a 66-foot easement. So I don't know where some of these specifications came from. And as far as a turnaround, we have provided one for the plow. But there's 28 other streets in Cross Lake that are all city streets that don't have turnarounds. And I find it truly amazing. I found 8 streets that I have no clue where they put the snow. But hats off to them that for getting the roads cleared. Okay.
So is it
these
just the
specifications that are in-
66-foot right-of-way that doesn't meet the city standards?
That's
Is that
that's
it?
the city
Is that all?
specification.
No, there's no place to really turn around unless you go down the hill down to the
And we have,
bottom where
and that's part of the standards, the specifications that you have to have a turnaround? All the streets have a turnaround
I
then?
don't know if it's spelled out. New roads do, yes.
New,
And this would fall under being a new road.
well, if you're
'Cause,
constructing
you
it,
know, if
yeah.
you take the plow truck down there, there just isn't, unless we go all the way down to the boat landing, that's only what, 8 or 10 feet wide?
10 feet.
You're gonna get
10
stuck
feet
in the
wide.
winter.
You get down to the bottom and you got the lake on the one side of his landing, and you got the back bay on the other side. My fear is that's gonna be all full of snow when it blows. Cause it's gonna come off the lake right through there, and we're gonna have 10 foot of snow, we have to move, try and turn around, it just don't work. I feel for you, but it just, we got too many of them roads that already don't work.
Okay, at the end of the
We're
day,
lucky we don't hit stuff.
if you don't want to plow it, I don't care. I'll keep plowing it. That's not an issue. What I really want is it to be a city street, that it follows under all of those things, that we have the same protection, that we made a major investment in our road, $35,000 to redo our road and bring it to specifications to make it wide. I just want it to be a city street. It's a public street now. You know what public street means? Absolutely nothing. It's not a private street, it's a public street. Okay.
Kind
That,
of sounds like our hands are tied.
Well,
because
can we
of
make an,
the specifications.
you can't really make an
it has
exception for
nothing for
plowing,
him.
can you?
It has nothing for him.
If you take the whole
It's-
street on, you gotta take it on the snow plowing and everything.
Either,
If there's other things that he needs to be able to plow in the future, then we'll work through those and work through that. But today, I'm asking to be a city street.
I don't think it's as easy as you're asking. Tom, you got something to say? Come on up.
Has it handy, but isn't that a platted right-of-way?
Yeah.
It's narrow, but it's a platted right-of-way. It's designated a city street. It's named as a city street because there's so many houses there, you have to name it as a street. I agree with Pat. I went down there and I don't know how they're gonna turn around down there, especially in the winter with the plow. But if what he's asking for is, you know, a children at play sign, I think you could justify that by saying, we've named it a city street, it's platted right away, whether he paved it or it was dirt for the last 50 years or whatever it is. I don't know what the, you know, if that used to be an old resort area or what it was, but I would think if all he's after is, you know, some signage.
Parking issues and signage and the ability for law enforcement to go down there to enforce
But it is a
something.
narrow, it's a narrow right-of-way going down there, so, you know, parking, you know, you could block it with cars parking there. You know, I don't know what the answer is for that, but, I
Okay,
think
Alec,
Public Works was pretty,
you got an opinion? Our sitting and city attorney?
I have no opinion at this juncture, something I could certainly look into.
It is a,
Input to the.
excuse me, Yep, sorry, it is a 33-foot easement, and with the road as it is, it gives each property owner another 8 feet for parking on their own property within that easement. It was dedicated to the public in 1965 when it
So you got an
became-
18-foot surface and a 33-foot width.
Yep, so.
I don't know, I would like to be able to help you out, I'm just not sure how we can.
I would say it'd be nice to.
I kind of gather there's two different issues. You want it to be a city street, but secondly, you also want some children playing sign or something like that?
I have 2 autistic grandchildren myself, and there's a half a dozen.
Okay, they're two different issues. Pat, what would be the issue with the sign?
Can we,
I realize it's not a city street. He would not be able to enforce it.
That'd be the problem with it, but I mean, we could certainly put up a, a sign for kids or whatever, kids that play or something. We could certainly put a sign up, but still falls under, who's gonna police it.
Well, they wouldn't, you would not be able to, correct?
But if there's an emergency, that, emergency vehicles will come. They do now, correct?
I'm sorry?
If there's an emergency, you still receive emergency services.
Right, we need
Right,
emergency
right.
services, yeah. But I mean,
It's really not very practical to put signs in either, is it?
put in a sign?
I know, I don't have a problem
Well,
with that.
we know what
yeah.
signs really mean to some people, but,
another-
hopefully, they'll see it, maybe, I don't see why the city can't put up a couple signs, but, it's, a children at play sign is not a sign that the police enforce anyhow, so.
It's not a stop sign, it's not a yield sign.
No, and,
Okay. Then why don't we agree to putting in a couple of signs? Let's just deal with that first.
Fully.
I'll make that motion. That we allow a couple of signs, appropriate signs to be installed over there for him.
Second.
one more
Warren?
thing, is that all the city streets are protected from weight in the spring, so we don't damage the streets,
Okay.
correct? 5-ton limit.
That requires enforcement, and that they cannot do, so we could not sign it and then not enforce it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right, that's the other reason for being a city street, is if we are a city street, now the law.
But right now, all we're dealing with is the sign, couple of signs for children playing type thing.
Okay, but a 15-ton dump truck can come down our street, wreck the whole road. There's no, I can't call him, I can't call him.
I saw a kid with a garage sale last week. He had a bunch of signs in their 5-ton limit on the
I
roads.
could put 10 signs up that said no trucks, no 5-ton limits, 30 mile an hour. They're all just signs.
Tom, you were getting up. Did you have something else? I'd like to try to figure out a way to,
Dave, you got a motion on the floor.
okay, yep, I'm sorry. So we got a motion to,
To allow a couple of signs to be put in there for
we have
children.
and we have a second on that motion. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I'll just say it bluntly. You live on a private road, Marcia lives on a private road. This is a private road. The only difference is he's paved part of it, and he's asking the city to take it over because he paved it. If a 5-ton or a 10-ton truck goes down Marcia's road or your road, that's a private or a non-maintained city road, just like this. There is no difference.
Yeah, right.
And the fact that he paved it, and I don't know who he talked to other than at Public Works, he said, well, Anderson Brothers did it and they said it meets city specs. That's not good enough. We've had developers put roads in before where unless we've got the city engineer out there doing periodic inspections on compaction and that stuff, and then we take over the road. Wild Wind Ranch was a good example, and we ended up redoing the whole road. So just because it's paved doesn't mean you take it over as a city street.
Yeah, I got it. I agree with you, Tom.
And if you had to redo the road, you would probably assess the owners for people who use that street. And it's not a private
But
street, it's a public street.
But Warren, if a private development like yours wants to bring the road up to city standards, they've got to do it on their own nickel, and then the city will take it over at that time.
Right.
So,
So which part of it haven't I met?
well, you might have done a nice job on your road, but there was no engineering or anything on it. We don't, not that I don't want to take your word for it,
No, and
but we don't know what
I
into
spoke
it.
with the Public Works Department at that time when we did the road, and he told me what we needed to do. And each thing that he told me to do, I exceeded that again. He said 14, I went 18. He said bring in base, I brought in all new base. He said bring in commercial blacktop, I brought in commercial blacktop. It's a good road. It'll be there 30 years from now.
Yeah.
it's a safe road. I'd just like to see it be able to be
Policed.
protected
Yeah.
and have the same securities and enforcements that 55 other miles of the city have. Sorry about 1990, but I don't think we should have missed the window forever. And you're going to go through all these city streets again here soon. I was to one of your meetings, okay? You have a big chunk coming up, okay? Now would be another time to go back to all those folks in 1990 and go, do you want to bring your road up to specs? At the same time, at a fraction of the cost that we ended up paying, because it would be all part of the same thing. These streets, I understand, were part of private developments, but they were all here before Cross Lake. This was 1965.
Yeah.
If you looked at the street, it's a nice street, okay? I just want to be able to protect it, and I want the people that are on it to be protected by our police department. I want them to have emergency response as fast as we can. Those things are all important, and they're all part of the community that we live in. I
Based on our
talk way more than I normally do.
Mayor? Based on our policy and how things are supposed to function, I don't see how there's any way we could take it in as a city street. So I think it's time to address
You got a small victory today. You can we'll put some signs up for you. And I don't know if we want to go look at it and say, this is what's going to be required. I don't know if we want to do that. Turn around or what you can do.
We can, I just don't know where the turnaround would be down in the end.
Yeah.
Unless some. Right, yeah, we don't know what, we'd have to check on the road to make sure it is done right, you know, do
Right.
some tests on it and that, but biggest thing is just a turnaround point. Somebody's gonna lose part of their yard in front.
Yeah,
That's
so.
the whole thing with the turnaround.
Do we need a
Yeah, we're gonna
motion
have
on
to
this
haul it out of there to do something.
particular request? That
Yes, I
that
think we
maintain
should.
Island View Lane?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to deny the maintenance and creating Highland View Lane as a city street.
I'll second that. Sorry, Warren.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I didn't quite hear what it, so I know, what was the motion? I'm sorry.
To deny.
City street.
It's not a city
City
street.
street.
Okay.
Not at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe
Next
we'll,
month.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Warren, sorry.
Lesson.
Okay, next one on the agenda is to set a date to hold a special meeting to discuss ordinance for short-term rental.
Does someone have a date to suggest, or was there something in?
I'm gonna say, does anybody have any ideas?
Well, I mean, I think we should set a date,
Yeah.
so.
Is it possible we set a date and we're going to discuss the full ordinance or a portion, or what?
Start a direction, I would imagine.
Start a direction?
Whole thing.
Okay, thank you.
How about Wednesday, the 22nd? Or is that gonna be too close to Thanksgiving?
I think we have something else, don't we already have something else that day?
Isn't
I don't, you might,
I don't.
but let me know. Our
Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving is the 23rd, never mind.
Oh,
Right.
So we're not happy with the county just doing it?
well, I thought it was just to determine, you know, our additional ordinance and how we're going to conduct fines and whatnot.
Just to accompany that to the county's ordinance.
We already added fines and penalties to their ordinance.
Don't we have to solidify that, or no?
No, we already did it.
Okay, I didn't know if we had to.
I think, how about the 21st, Tuesday,
Sure,
9 o'clock in the morning?
perfect.
First, okay.
Is that good with everybody?
Yep.
Okay, so do we need a motion for that, Char, or are we good with that?
9 o'clock on the 21st.
You can make a motion.
I make a motion, we have a meeting on short-term rentals, November 21st at 9 a.m.
Second.
Can we just, before we vote, can we just confirm what it is exactly that we're meeting to discuss?
what we're going to do.
Direction we want to take with short-term rentals.
Okay, I thought we had, but, okay. Okay,
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, Mike, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. It's 20 to 9, and I have 15 items. It's the most I've ever had. I got the look to hurry up, right, Jackson?
Don't smile.
So, first item is County Engineer Tim Bray is here to talk about the cost share agreement for the intersection project. So we're all looking at, that's a budget item. We've been talking, so Tim's got some updates for us.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I'll try to keep it brief. I'm not good at that, but being mindful of time. In your packet, I provided city staff a draft cost share agreement, which included some itemized and some detailed costs for the project that we have, and then also a summary of that. Today, I'm not looking for approval of it. I think I felt very important that you see the initial numbers. I know you've been asking about it. That's the, well, million-dollar question. And also, I wanted to try to get on paper some of the things required for maintenance. So we also have agreements on who's paying the power, who's going to take care of the sidewalks, who's going to take care of the stormwater ponds and things like that. So some of those are really part of the discussion items too, and I'll stand for any questions related to that. But I can try to quickly go through what I figure are the highlights of the cost
That'd be
share
awesome,
policy.
Tim.
Okay. So the cost of design and construction, the county is going to provide the design engineer. We've been doing it. We've been kind of fronting the money to Phil and his group, to all the work, the public involvement, the layouts, all the stuff you've seen to date. Really, the county has been fronting the money on that. And eventually, once the project is all done, we'll ask for the city for 18% of the items that you're responsible for. And that's really what one of these paragraphs says. So the city will reimburse us up to 18% for the work that's been done so far. The county's going to take care of acquiring the property. What we found out is that it's fairly limited to temporary easements, which are little small strips. There are some permanent ones, but we don't feel that are going to be really involved, and we're not anticipating going to condemnation or anything like that. So that's really due to your agreement to consume the parking lane on the east side to stay away from those private properties on the east side. The next thing was the two primary components for the cost agreement that you see in front of you. We broke it down into two categories for this agreement, and that's the water quality, construction and engineering, and the construction of the roadway and pedestrian improvements with the two agreements. Those are broken down. Those are the two main categories. And as I stated before, for each of those components, the city will be asked to pay 18% of your corresponding portion of that. And you can see the numbers in there. And really, in summary, kind of just moving right along, is that the overall construction obligation for the city before any grant or anything currently stands at $842,544. And the engineering on top of that, so 18% of that is $151,662. But you're also a recipient of grants. The total grants for all of the project equal $1.675 million. And of that, the city, with the eligible cost, will receive a benefit of $363,938. And the county will receive the remainder because our items are eligible for those grants. So currently an estimated total final cost for the city in terms of the construction, the contingency, we have 10% contingency, the engineering on top of that, minus the grant benefit is $630,269.
And you've taken into consideration the $650,000 grant we got for the sidewalks. That's all built
Yes.
into it?
Yes.
Okay.
So just as a reminder, the FLAP, or the Federal Land Access Grant, was $850,000 for the roundabout. There's really no city cost in that because it's all our responsibility as the county, so we would be the recipient of the whole grant. For the Transportation Alternative Grant was $610,000. We both have components that are our responsibility in accordance with our cost share policy. And so it applies to only your items and our items.
So Tim, this 630 is what, last month, I believe, we budgeted 750 for it? That's our portion of it?
That's currently our portion, but I want to just point out that of that, 2/3 of it currently are aesthetics. And so trying to keep this project moving, there's still some decisions that need to be made in aesthetics and landing on exactly what the light looks like, exactly what the color of the concrete or this pattern in the stamped concrete is. It takes a long time, but we need to move forward. So what Phil did with his estimate is assume the most costly item. So the most decorative light, and I think he'll go through a little bit of that, how we landed on those numbers. The most expensive boulevard, which is stamped colored concrete, and some of those other components.
So these numbers include that?
Those numbers include that. Almost 2/3 of it, 400,000, is aesthetics. And so you can raise or lower your obligation, which currently stands about 630, pretty substantially by the decisions that eventually are made with aesthetics.
But now you're saying that what Phil figured in there was pretty nice stuff.
Yeah, it was.
So chances are it won't go up? Well, come on.
Yeah, well, we're estimating high. We have a 10% contingency on top of it. Contingencies are unknowns. That's increased prices in fuel or something unforeseen. But we also have, he's estimated some of the most expensive stuff that we've heard. We still have to make those decisions, or you collectively have to make the decisions of where we're gonna go. So it is pretty conservative.
Are you prepared tonight to get specific with those decisions, or is this just a flyover?
No, this is our first glance. You have not seen any real numbers about that. I stared at this spreadsheet last week for hours and hours and hours and hours trying to make sure that it's something that you could digest and understand. And I don't expect you to do that in a day or two, or if you've seen it for the first time tonight. The language also, I wanted you to get an idea.
I can't even see this.
You didn't see that?
I gotta get home and
I
get my
do too.
magnifying
I'm sorry,
glass.
there's really no way unless it was a huge piece of paper. That's how complex it is, and actually I have some columns that aren't even shown because I tried to make it small enough. I can provide the much more detailed one that even has smaller print.
No.
I was going to say,
Okay.
please.
Okay. It is available, whenever you want it, if we get to that point.
Okay.
So it is kind of, like you said, a flyover. I would like to hear your thoughts about how we're splitting up the maintenance. We did our best to do it according to our cost share policy that the county adopted in 2019. And your city engineer happens to be at the table helping us split the cost and looking at your interest too. So he has two hats on.
So you want to talk specifically about those cost shares now, or did we already do that? You mentioned cleaning out the stormwater ponds, one of them, but we're not going to get specific.
If you'd like, I stand for any questions.
I read through all of this. There were no surprises as far as I was concerned, so.
I think it's good.
Okay.
You have a cushion in there even a little bit.
Okay, well, that's a good start, and then we'll
Yeah.
continue on with refining the cost. We really need to find a process where we make a decision, we or you, make a decisions about what light represents Cross Lake and things like, we've heard a lot from your civic group eventually, and I know, Sandy, you're a representative there. We need to eventually get it to a point where we're landing on this. This is what we can afford. Phil, go do it.
Well, we need to hear, the detailed, amounts.
Coming through here.
But I was at the Cross Laker meeting, and everything was unanimous. We all agreed unanimously on everything that we sent you, so.
So should we give them direction to go through the Cross Lakers and bring it back to us?
No.
Well, I think that we need to hear their input, hear what you come up with based on their input, and then we can make a decision as a council.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know that we're prepared tonight to do that, because you have to see the stuff. You have to go,
No, right.
this is the head that I like, this is.
It was only a week ago that we gave you the information, so, but.
He has some of those alternatives. I think what we'll do, Phil, is work together and find, just let's bring this to a head and have the decision, tee it up for this council to make that decision with the input from the Cross Lakers that
Think
they
in
provided.
December you might be ready for that, the council meeting?
To get that information into this?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know on the lighting, we're still trying to figure out the difference in the lighting costs. I'm still using the experience we had in Crosby, which basically doubled the cost from the standard the county would provide to decorative. But we are trying to get that information, and as well lead times. That's our biggest concern too.
Right.
We may decide you want it, and we find out it can't come for 18 months, so.
Okay, thank you.
But, yeah, we can probably break that out in a better table too. So
Yeah, so
the design.
part of the challenge is it can be pretty, but if it's not functional and doesn't provide the right light or restrict the light pollution that the city is interested in. So there's a little science behind just the pretty light.
So
Looking at
I'm
this
wondering
latest-
about we put numbers in there, the greatest, high end. That isn't what you're going to throw back at the council as the greatest, the most costly amenities.
I think that's the decision that you have to make. We had to move forward to get you this document and to put numbers
Yeah,
in there.
I
And so
understand that.
we're very conservative.
I just,
And I mean,
we don't
let me
need
just-
the latest and greatest.
It may qualify most expensive. What this represents is simple things like the boulevard along 66, right, the pedestrian area there. If the county did it, and I'm just being very folksy here, if the county did it, it would be dirt and weeds. Dirt and weeds cost this much. We put in here stamped concrete, stamp colored concrete the whole way. So a hardscape. So not down here, up here. Now, if the direction is something in between that with stamped concrete and gaps for vegetation and stamped concrete and gaps for vegetation, you can see we're somewhere between that.
What's the cost between stamped concrete and colored concrete? I mean, is it a huge
Well,
difference?
We're using in this particular instance, a range of 24 to 28 bucks a square foot for the stamped concrete.
Because that's labor intensive.
It requires the additional, yeah, just pour it out. It's one thing, you start stamping in the other stuff it's gonna cost.
But you could use colored and just not have the stamp.
Yeah, there's things in between, and, and again, like at the roundabout, in the middle of the roundabout, the county might have the cost for the soil and then grass or weeds. And now we're gonna be putting in irrigation, electrical, some shrubs. We assume someone other than maybe the project, we're putting in a sign. So, the cost there is probably incrementally $45,000 difference between what the county would do on the base versus what you might do. And I might be low. I mean, locally, there might be people that want to do more. The lighting alone, if the county did the lighting, they would be doing a standard light-based $8,500 a pop in 10 locations and one county intersection. The city would have the upgrade charge if you did do decorative, and it was $7,500 an install more. I mean, you're
More?
to yeah, decorative above the base is $7,500 more. Now you're talking of $130,000 in additional costs. So that's how you add those three components. You get to about $330,000. You add a contingency. You add the engineering onto that. And you get to that $400,000 that Tim's talking about. So you have the ability, with the direction that you're all pulling together, to go closer to nothing or stay closer to that higher end.
Well, let's wait and see what you come back with on pricing and, what it involves.
Okay.
But so when you come back, you're gonna have a wish list of sorts, and we can say this or that and kind of pick it out and then refine it?
We'll refine this based on direction that Tim has gotten, and I guess within his rules of acceptance, because there's already been some stuff that was desired before that we just can't.
Right. It's got to meet the engineering standard for lighting for roads and pedestrian walkways and things like that, so.
Tim, looking at your drawing you just gave us tonight, it looks like based off the last meeting we had with business owners, you have the 4 entrances designed in there.
Right, currently,
Yeah. Okay.
we did have a meeting a couple weeks ago, 3
Yeah.
weeks ago. We had, after the last council meeting, we found out that not all the property owners were actually contacted, so, and we were concerned about that, so we tried to quickly call a meeting and contact them in 2 weeks' notice, which is very difficult, we understand. We got a couple folks to show up that own properties in that Andes block. There was nobody begging to have it closed. But what we kind of landed on, we thought, was green space and parking were important to accomplish there. And we had gotten some direction to send, to have Phil's team look at it more like engineering-like, like make sure that the water runs, make sure that all the components are there. And we're looking through some options to accomplish those things without closing the entrance.
Perfect.
And we didn't hear a resounding close it, so at this point, we're moving forward with it open, because we can accomplish the things that we set out to do. There's less green space, but there is green space, and that there is an opportunity for some parking enhancements also. Another, just going right down the line here, we also have in section H, the additional costs that we will agree to share 50-50. So for quite a while now, we've talked about construction staging and how important it is, an incentive possibly to the contractor. I would expect through this cost share that we work together and we split those costs. If we need to implement a special detour to make sure that more traffic comes through, that we come up with something unique, that we're both in it together. We have both vested interest in mitigating, the traffic challenges are coming.
And are you looking for an indication tonight, though, or? I mean.
No, just, you can pass this if you want, but I would say that the numbers, we have a work to do on the numbers. I'm glad that you're in agreement with some of the provisions about how we're gonna share the maintenance and ongoing responsibilities. I encourage you to continue to work with your staff about that to make sure that that continues to be practical in those things. And hopefully we'll come together with a better cost estimate and then refinement of those agreements on the maintenance and the operation responsibilities and be able to pass this thing at this time.
So you have a detour set for this project?
We
don't?
don't yet. Construction staging is what I call it. It includes detours, building it under construction, alternate access to the campground, all of those things we're trying to work out. What we have to figure out first is what we're gonna build. We're very close to that. But now then we'll have to figure out how we're gonna build it. Figure out what we're building, and now we're gonna have to figure out how. And like I said before, I'm paying attention that the direction is to minimize it. I'm here to tell you, we cannot eliminate impacts to traffic and the businesses in this community with this project. It cannot be eliminated, but we're gonna do our best to mitigate it, slow it down, offer an incentive, maybe think outside the box detouring or staging, or things like that.
Appreciate your taking every effort to do that. I know it's important to our businesses, so.
Yeah, over the course of the last couple months, I've been talking with MnDOT about a different project, and they actually invite contractors in and look at our plan before they're bidding it and all that stuff and say, how would you build this? How could you build it that's quickest? And then we can consider those maybe during a construction staging talks or write certain things into our contract. So I'm willing to do that step too.
So what about an incentive? You're asking the city to be a part of that cost sharing?
Yes.
Will we know what you're going to offer?
No, not yet.
Oh.
On the one south of town, we offered 50,000.
So you're not looking for a motion tonight?
No.
Okay.
I mean, no. Just discussion so we can refine this.
Okay.
Please keep it moving forward.
Yeah, keep it moving forward. And then one thing important to note, and this is the last thing I have, is that we're going to front the money till the project is done. So there's already components that the city would be responsible for that Phil's been working on. Phil's, already billed a couple $100,000 to the county, and we've paid that. And we're gonna continue to do that. The final cost will be based on the actual bid. So right now, we're estimating bituminous might be $100 a ton. Well, when the bids actually come in, it might be at $90. And so it will be reflected on what we actually get the bids on. So it'll take time to figure that out and finalize the project. I wouldn't expect the invoice from the county to come to the city until late next year or maybe even in 2025. And so we're going to front all the money up front, and then we're going to settle up based on real numbers, real bids, real incentives, and other things like that.
Okay.
Okay? Any other questions? Oh, any other questions?
No, I think the appetite here is to do a nice job on the road. And the other concern is to try to keep that road open as much as we can.
Absolutely, I understand.
Busy time of year for us.
It is a busy time, and I don't know how it's going to turn out yet, but I understand.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
You're welcome.
Don't run away. Tim, don't run away. You're gonna give us an
Oh,
update
yeah.
on the. Yep.
Okay, I didn't see my name twice there.
Yep, you're in number 2, too.
Mike contacted me late last week and was just trying to, keep us moving at the county with regard to the joint maintenance facility. And I want to tell you that we met the day of that he called me, and at the county is kind of finalizing our language. The county attorney's, of course, been drafting it. Our facilities manager has been drafting an agreement on how our folks at the county will be maintaining, or we're proposing to maintain the buildings. And we're getting really close. As a matter of fact, we're going to finalize it, and I think Mr. Mayor and Mike, we have a meeting coming up after Thanksgiving to kind of introduce it to the staff and the mayor first, and to kind of get some initial questions about that and some concerns, and then eventually bring it to the full council.
Is that meeting been set? Or is
It has.
Yes, it is. It's November 30th, I believe.
Number 30, you
It's
should
in your
have an
email.
invite.
There's an invite in your email.
Okay.
Yep. And so we'll just sit down and talk about that first. The basic premise is there's really two agreements. One is how do we co-own this building? What happens when somebody wants to leave the building or buy out the other? Those kind of things that were in the old agreement. But then also an agreement on how the county staff will maintain it and some of those billings. There'll be some of the budget associated with that too. So we'll review that in a couple weeks' time with the staff and mayor first, and then we'll move it on to the council.
Is your goal to have that another 10 or 20-year agreement, long-term?
Shoot, I don't recall exactly the time. It's in there, but I don't recall right now.
It's nothing that we're going to have to do every year, though. It's going to be a
Oh,
commitment.
gosh, I hope not.
Yeah.
I hope not ever. It's a long-term agreement.
Yeah, okay.
Particularly for the building ownership and operation of it. The maintenance agreement might be a little bit shorter to review costs and those kind of things, so.
Right.
But the buyouts will be the same,
The buyouts
or
are,
on the same as our current agreement, if somebody
buyouts-
wants to.
the buyouts are in there. I think there's some additional language that you'll
Oh,
want to
there's
take a look at.
additional? Okay.
Yep. Yep,
There's
just-
some things that need to be clarified.
Yeah, things that we'll take the opportunity to clarify and certainly have input on those, so. Okay?
Super.
Anything
Thanks,
else?
Tim.
Okay, thank you.
Right, that's it. You're off the hook. All right, we're on to item 3 out of 15, so let's keep moving. What you have in front of you is the approval for the statement of work for our upcoming audit for 2023. There's a memo on top. One of the things that changes this year is we have to implement a new standard, which briefly is called GASB Statement Number 96, and that deals with subscription-based information technology agreements. It deals with some of the things that we approved this summer that we're in the process of implementing with emails, servers to be compliant. When a new standard is issued, and I have a copy of it if anyone really wants to read it, there are certain statements that have to change, and there's auditing standards, and then there's statements on those standards, and all the changes that implicate other standards. Those are identified in 3 different statements. One is 143, which deals with accounting estimates and disclosures. The other one is use of specialists from external sources because our technology is outsourced. You know, the days are gone where you buy an instance of Office and you own it. Most of that now is subscription-based, and you pay a monthly subscription for it. And then the thing we all want to talk about is understanding risk. We talked a little bit about that tonight with incompatible duties, things like that. That's where all the fun happens for auditors. So if anyone wants to read that, I have copies of it. I actually understand it, so we're good there. So the fees for those services be similar to last year. There may be a little extra work because of the program and how the federal dollars work with the grant that we've combined with the county. There are other small grants that we'll be receiving too. So for those services, along with the implementation of the new standards and related testing, they're quoting right around $37,000. Last year, we paid $33,000 for audit. What staff do is we do all of the work to get ready for that and take on all the technical calculations, so they're actually doing auditing instead of hiring that service out. So the request is to approve the audit contract so we can start getting ready for that work.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
One is, will all the audit and non-audit services remain the same as last year?
This non-audit services, yes. Yep.
Okay. And are they all necessary?
Yes, they are.
Considered necessary? Okay. And I had another question under responsibilities and limitations related to non-audit services. It says management agrees to assume all management responsibilities, oversee the services by designating an individual. Is that you?
That would be me.
Okay.
Yep.
Just, I wasn't clear about that.
Yep. And I have those qualifications to do that.
I'm sure you do.
Yep.
Okay. Pass it. Those are my only questions.
Okay, thank you. So what I need is a motion and a approval to execute the contract.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract or to secure it.
Yeah, I'll second. Oh, go ahead.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries.
All right, thank you. Item number 4, I think all of you know about this, but we need to formally accept the resignation of the heavy equipment sewer operator and approve advertising to fill that vacancy. As you all know, Seth Wanabo has decided to take another position, and he's tendered his resignation. That's on item G4.
I'm going to read it quick if that's all right,
Yep,
because
please
I
do.
know he'd like me to read it. Please accept this letter as a formal notification that I am resigning from my position as a heavy equipment operator, Class C wastewater operator with the City of Cross Lake on November 20th, 2023. I would like to personally thank the citizens of Cross Lake, the public works staff, and the council for providing me with this opportunity to work here and to maintain and improve the City of Cross Lake since my start in January of 2018. With that said, I will continue to live in Cross Lake and hold my captain position with the Cross Lake Fire, which will still allow me to work alongside this great community for years to come. During the remainder of my employment, I will continue to help the rest of our staff prepare for the next season of work. Thank you, Seth Wanabo.
I'll make a motion that we accept his resignation.
I'll second the motion, and I wish that he would be staying with us because he was a good employee for the city.
Agreed.
Okay, we got a motion to second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Did you do both the advertising as well?
We'll need to have a second motion to post the position.
I'll make a motion that we post the position.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
All right, thank you. Item number 5 is the approval of the revised Drug, Alcohol, and Cannabis Testing and Drug-Free Workplace Act policy for non-commercial drivers, non-DOT drivers. What you've got is this has been, Shara's been working on this for quite some time, for a while now, going back and forth. It's been presented to the different bargaining groups, and the agreed changes are noted in there. So if there's any
This
questions.
is what the unions have agreed to?
I don't have any questions about it.
Okay.
Move to approve it as submitted.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
All right, item G6 is a memorandum of agreement. As you know, Chief Lee retired this year, and the council promoted Jake Meyer to police chief. I'll just read the middle part of this. It says, "Now therefore, the parties agree to Jake Meyer's annual salary effective July 13th through December 31st, 2024." And then the second item, Jake, the salary agreed to is during that time, Jake is not eligible for additional wage increases. Item 2 is the memorandum of agreement represents a complete and total agreement between the parties regarding this matter. This is what you negotiated with the MNP Supervisors Union. It's already signed by the business agent Joseph Ditch and Jake Meyer. So this
I make a motion to approve as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
We didn't say 89,000.
Motion carries. All in favor?
All right, thank you. Item G7 is another memorandum of agreement. As you all know, Jake was the sergeant, so we needed a sergeant, so we promoted Tony Marks to the position of sergeant. This memorializes those same items before you. And this is signed by the business agent and the sergeant.
I move to approve the memorandum of agreement regarding the police sergeant salary.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
All right, and at, I think it was the last meeting, this is item G8, there's another memorandum of agreement where the position of maintenance technician was created. And so we're adding that to the existing contract, and the wages are listed in there.
That's a union.
This would be an AFSCME. For 2023, the maintenance tech position starts at 1841 and it goes to 2404. And for 2024, it starts at 1887 and goes to step 10 at 2464.
And what step are we hiring at, Mike?
Shar, I think it was step 4, correct?
I think it's 4.
Hiring at step 4.
So I thought.
Yep. That's what was agreed to.
Yep, okay. Motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept that as stated.
Okay, I second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
All right, moving on to item G9 is another memorandum of agreement. This relates to the incumbent maintenance position. The request was to move from step 5 at 2073 to step 9 at 2334 effective November 1st. That's what was discussed at the last meeting.
I make a motion we accept this memorandum of agreement for the park maintenance employee incumbent.
I'll second.
These ones aren't signed, Mike. Just
Not yet, they were in process.
okay.
We did this one after.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, item G10 is a resolution regarding unpaid sewer charges. Each year this time, we go through our unpaid sewer charges and we certify them to the property taxes. And this resolution is doing just that. So we certify, the council approves this, then I certify them to the county. And then if they happen to pay us before the county collects it, then we tell the county they paid and they take it off. So the request is that we certify these two unpaid sewer charges totaling $1,331.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution regarding the unpaid sewer charges and certify the assessment for unpaid sewer charges in the amount of $1,331 to the two parcels noted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item G11 is updating, we're amending Chapter 42, Article 6 for road names, naming unnamed roads. There's two roads that were Sylvia Lane and Retriever Road. I'm not familiar with those two, but Pat, Shark, could you tell us where those are?
Retriever Road was a recent plat done by Jeff McGrath by the Pet Lodge. It's a small cul-de-sac that goes off there. And then the other one, Silva Lane, is the Sundown Holdings Incorporated plat that was approved at the last meeting, and that's the construction project that is the Dan Miller one just south of town that's recently asphalted.
Oh, is that why they call it Retriever Road? Because it's by the Northland Pet Lodge?
Yep. I think he's kept with that theme with a couple of his roads there.
Was there a petition received with at least 75% of the signatures? That was one of the stipulations?
These are newly named roads, so they don't have to require
Oh,
that.
okay, just
It's
set
a
that
new
on
plat.
here then.
I'll make a motion to adopt the ordinance amending Chapter 42, naming these unnamed roads Silva Lane and Retriever Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carries.
Pete, are these going to be city streets or are they privately owned?
The intent is to have the Sundown Holdings one, the Silva Lane, to be a city street. Phil may be able to speak a little bit about that.
These are
They would-
named only right now.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
They have to come and be asked to be public, and they have to meet the process.
That's why I'm asking.
Glad you asked.
Right then, are we ready to move to item 12?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So item 12 is the approval to publish a summary ordinance in the official newspaper related to those two roads.
I'll make a motion that we put those in the paper.
I second that.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, item 13 is a resolution supporting the efforts of Ideal Township to improve their transfer station. This was an item where Ideal Township came to us, and Sandy, thank you for meeting with us and Ideal Township. And what they're doing is they're putting up a new building to better serve the public, which we take advantage of. Not over in Ideal Township at the transfer station. They're not asking for any money. They're just asking for a resolution of support, and they would like to use this in their application to Sourcewell for funding.
Well, I met with him. It's a win-win as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's, yeah, they're not asking, like you say, they're not asking for money. They're just asking for our support. So I move that the City of Cross Lake City Council supports the efforts of Ideal Township in improving its transfer station and seeking a grant from Sourcewell's Community Impact Fund to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the station.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, and Harlan has been patiently sitting here since 7 o'clock. Now
I'm 69 years old.
Wake up, Harlan.
Go ahead, Harlan.
Mayor and council, one immutable truth that I've had in the business, health insurance, all these years, is things never go down. Well, they kind of did for the city of Cross Lake. Excuse me, got a dry mouth thing going on. Our point of contention, you remember, at the renewal for the health plan was that IRS guidelines said the minimum deductible for the plan you guys had to go from $3,000 to $3,200. And I also mentioned at that time that I think I did, that the rates for 2024 in the small group arena hadn't been fully received yet. And I told Keegan, my son and now my boss, I said, we ought to check and see if Medica has the same plan. You know, I'm trying to avoid any more points of contention in trying to find a plan with the same benefits, $3,200 single deductible, $6,400 family, then 100% afterwards. And he said, I think I went someplace and I came back an hour and a half later. I said, Dad, you got to look at this. And the same company, the same carrier, Medica, with what we believed and were led to believe was the same plan,
is between $6,000 and $7,000 less a month, not per year, per month. And
I mean, cost to the city?
what?
Cost to the city? Or?
Yes. So I struggled with that for a few hours because, like I said, I'm not used to saying, hey, guess what? We can save you X amount. For a group of, what, 15, what are we, 20, 16?
Right now, we have 16 contracts.
That's huge. As, you know, I notified the attorney and Mike, and the labor attorney wanted some comparisons to show to the unions. And as we were going through doing our due diligence on that, my office manager said, Harlan, what does unlimited mean? And long story short, we looked at the SBC, the Summary of Benefits and Coverage, which is what we all go by, benefit administrators, for the plan for 2024 from Medica, which was the same in every category except for out-of-network benefits. The deductible, out-of-network, you always pay a higher deductible, and then you pay more egregious co-insurance. So if somehow a city employee did go out of network, they'd have, as a single, they'd have a $10,000 deductible, and then 50% coverage after that. And on the new Medica plan that we're pretty excited about. But on the MHC plan, the Minnesota Health Consortium, the plan that you guys are on right now and we're about to renew and did renew, that was limited to 10,000, 20,000 out-of-network benefits. So once again, the plan you have is a 3,200 single, 6,400 family deductible in network. And then it's 100% after that. So pretty easy to follow that. And what we found with, and it took me a couple of days talking to Medica and talking to Resource Trust Solutions, Training and Solutions, the co-op that we go through for the Minnesota Health Consortium. And they were going, what? It's the same plan. And I said, no, I think we found a point where it's not, and it's out-of-network benefits. So if you switch to the fully insured plan that all my other groups have available to them with Medica, your plan is completely the same, 100% the same, except if they go out of network, they could have an unlimited amount. They'd have a $10,000 deductible, and then 50% coverage after that, and there's no limit. So that could be a huge number. Was I worried? No. The only concern I had was how do I explain it to the employees and the council, because I've been doing business with Medica for 30 years. You know how many out-of-network claims I've had? A lot of people. Their network is so broad, and the plan I pick, I always pick the open access Medica Choice Passport plan. And Passport refers to the out-of-network coverage. It's almost everybody in the U.S. Blue Cross claims their Aware network for fully insured plans is bigger than Medica. Medica claims theirs is bigger than Blue Cross. About the only way, I think the only out-of-network claim I've ever run into with a fully insured Medica plan is chiropractors. Medica has a kind of a close network for chiropractors. We've got at least one, if not two, in town here, but that's the only time I've run into an out-of-network claim. And I always tell the employees in that situation, by the way, if you use chiropractors, here's the chiropractors that are in network. If you go out of network, you're going to pay more.
So Harlan, who's taking the risk on here? Is it the employees? If they choose to go out of network?
Yep.
I mean, that's what it seems like to me.
That's exactly what someone looking at pure benefits would think. If you ask me, If you ask Keegan, if you ask all my other Medica clients, you'd have to explain out-of-network to them because they've never seen it. They've never been there. I mean, their network in the rest of the U.S. it's United Healthcare. United Healthcare is the largest health insurance plan in the world. They're domiciled in Carlson Parkway down in Minnetonka. They're the largest health plan in the world, and their Passport network was developed because they sell so many plans, both 50 and under and 50 and above, with employees all over the U.S., the world for that matter. But definitely
So
all
our
over the US.
current, our current premiums that we pay now under the MHC, what's their out-of-network deductible? Do they have one? I missed that.
Yeah, good point.
What is it?
It's 10,000 for single, 20,000 for a family, but then that's it. That's the limit.
Well, I mean,
It's
obviously,
confusing.
we'd like to save $7,000 a month, but I'm just curious how the employees feel, because I don't want to put them in a,
The union will tell you.
If I could step into the employee's shoes, I'd say, what are you telling me, Harlan? I'm saying, well, your rates are going to go down. What did we figure, 25, 30% from the renewal?
I didn't do a percentage.
It's been a long
but-
day. I was up.
But
in
we have
LA.
two options. The one that was approved was, I'll just pick on a family rate, was $26.47.60 a month. And the small employer market was $2,065.72. If you went with the plan that was approved before we had rates for the small employer group, your rates would have gone up. That's in your council packet. But we can't compare that rate to future savings. We have to compare the two plans we have in front of us. So the short story is, based on our census, if we can convince the bargaining groups to go to the small employer market, it'll cost overall, the premium goes down about $7,100 a month.
I realize that, but what about I kind of forgot what I was going to ask about. You talked so long, I forgot what I was going to ask. I'll just keep going.
Marcia, Sandy, Dave, Jackson, Aaron, my fellow Americans. If let's take someone as an employee, if Mike came to me and said, Harlan, what does this mean to me? I said, it's going to save you money. It saves the city a lot of money, and it's going to save you your commensurate share, your 20% I think that the employees pay. Yeah, but what about this out-of-network thing? I said, hey, go find someone out-of-network, please. I've never had the cause to have a Medica member call me, even if they're on vacation for a month in Florida, call me and ask who the providers are down there, because they show it's usually an emergency or urgent care, and they show that UHC, and it's just like Blue Cross and Blue Shield to almost every provider under the sun. The only out-of-network issues I've ever had, like I said, has been chiropractors. I think there's one in town, by the way, that's not a par provider. Or last
I
time we
remember
checked.
now. I remember my question. It was the small business group? How big is that group? I mean, our consortium
Good for
is
you.
counties and cities. I want to know how big is this group? Historically, have they kept flat rates or increased inflationary? Or
Long story short,
20,
they're
30?
a huge pool. They're probably 4, 5, 6 times as big as the Minnesota Health
Okay.
Consortium. And so when they get a claim, it gets spread. And those are guaranteed issue rates, by the way. So there's no health history or anything. We just bowl the city into that plan. Problem is deadlines. I think we've got November 15th to answer Minnesota Health Consortium, our co-op.
I thought I heard, though, that the union hasn't gotten back whether they would accept that or not. Is that true?
Not to me, they have. Not to me, they haven't.
No.
didn't
They
we
haven't
already
gotten
vote to
back to
renew
us yet.
our previous?
we voted to renew, but we did that based on, we wanted to double check rates on the small employer market, which weren't available yet.
They weren't available at the time,
We had to get something in
Sandy.
place to get it in front of people.
Do you expect to hear? Or, I guess Susan, is it with Susan? Is that where it is?
Yeah, Harlan's been corresponding with
Susan Hanson. yeah.
You've been, okay.
Yep.
And I told her the same thing. I sent her a memo and put myself into the employee's shoes, and I would tell the employee, if you think you're going to possibly go out of network, one thing we all know is you pay more when you go out of network. Call me or call the number on your card. And you're probably going to find out that where you want to go is in network. That's how big this network is. And then I would say, but if it was up to you, Mike or Pete, I'm sorry. Yeah, Pete and Pat. How much more for a family?
How much more in premium?
Yeah.
For a family, it would be
Roughly.
$116 a month,
That's their share.
more than RTS.
Yeah.
Well, does anyone have any discussion?
Well, I don't know how we can act on this without the union acting on it first.
I think we have a meeting on Wednesday, the 15th. I think we need to go over that with Susan
Can we add that?
to find out.
Can we add that now to the agenda?
Go ahead, Jake.
That's negotiations. That has nothing to do, our meeting is for wage negotiations
What I'm saying,
on Wednesday.
I'm saying, can we discuss that if it has already?
It's union negotiations. It would be a benefit. Oh, well, I guess ask.
Go ahead.
I spoke with Joe Ditch today, and I've also spoken with every member in our union, us four plus Tony, and we're all for it. We'll go with the cheaper plan. I think we're all in agreement here. You know, if that gets us through and do the whatever's best for the city and for us, you know, we want to be covered. But Char.
You have a closed meeting on Wednesday,
Yeah, 3:30.
right? But you can't,
That's labor negotiations.
right, but you can't act. I mean, you'd have to come out and
Oh, and I go like to a city council meeting?
at a,
Right.
correct,
Oh, that.
yeah.
I'll
We
do
would
two
open the
things.
meeting and do
I'll
it.
find out to what extent we can push out that response date.
Well, I think our indication is to agree with it.
Yeah.
Certainly,
What is the
but I-
response to
I
the,
think, I
what
think we need to.
is the deadline for the small business?
They'd like it by December 15th, but, so we got time there. It's the co-op. That's,
Do we have to make a motion to
and it wouldn't be the
to
first time
rescind
I
our
pushed their
approval to
limits.
renew, or?
Can we do a motion contingent on hearing?
I think we should
unions?
wait till, we can open the closed meeting and act on it. Because when you come out of a closed meeting, if you want to take action on what you
Right,
discussed,
but this isn't on, this isn't,
it's,
I think she's
I
saying
guess
it
it's
has to take
fine.
place here.
To me, it's not violating open meeting law because you're doing labor negotiations, and that's part of labor negotiations is the benefit for hospitalization. You come out of the closed session and say, we have determined we're going to do this, and there's nothing wrong with, there. To me, there's nothing wrong, but let's ask the city attorney.
I don't know what to tell you at this juncture.
It's, you know, Jacob's
Well, I'm,
offer that they're fine with the less expensive plan that is essentially the same plan,
Right.
unless you insist on going out of network.
Do we have to
If we
make,
got a statement like that from the other unions.
AFSCME and Teamsters.
do we have to make a motion to rescind our previous?
Or unions.
well, I don't think we should do that until we've decided what we're going to do.
To approve it.
We haven't
Right, right,
decided.
for unions, yeah.
We got two of them sitting here.
Well, can we say if we get permission from Joe Ditch, then we would like to, can we make it a qualified?
Contingent or something?
Yeah.
I mean,
let's wait till Wednesday.
Right.
I'd be more than available to come and meet with the employees by group or en masse or whatever, 1, 2, or 3 times in the next couple of days. I've been doing this for 35 years. And the people in Cross Lake know me and trust me. Even though they get frustrated as the rates go up, they usually end up saying, well, what do you think? Is this a good move for me? And, you know, I give them a thumbs up or thumbs down. And I think I could have an influence in their decision, but then we're at the mercy of the unions. So key is I'm going to ask for an extension of that November 15th.
I think that would be great.
And they would be really foolish to say no to it, but they could.
Harlan, I think Sandy had the right idea to make the motion to tentatively approve it now.
Based on the
And then we'll base with Marcia, what Marcia
I
talked
think we
about.
should be talking to Susan.
Yeah. But I think,
We have a meeting scheduled for Wednesday. He said he'd get an extension. Let's not
Well, he's not
do
sure.
something.
Say something? Push them aside.
Shepherd's Hook.
So long as the bargaining groups agree to it, I would say that you approve it to move to the cheaper plan. And if they don't agree to it, then we really only have one option that's already been agreed on. That would be my
Yeah.
idea.
Marcia, I don't see what the problem is with just saying, you know, contingent upon the approval of, you know, Joe Ditch.
As long as we're not breaking any open meeting law.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be the only.
but that's why I'm saying, we could tentatively, that's what Sandy was talking about. But we wouldn't actually approve it until the open meeting like Marcia talked about, finalize it.
We could make it a contingent on the union approving it and our labor attorney also approving it.
Would the council have any disagreements with the employee, if the bargaining agreements employees are okay with the cheaper plan? Is there any conceivable way that the council wouldn't want that to happen?
Not on my
I
part.
guess is my question.
I'd be good with
That's
it.
all I really,
I can't imagine.
so, that's it.
Okay, so we don't need a motion at this time.
Is that all you need, Keegan?
That's all I have for you.
Okay.
Is that all you need from us?
Yeah, as long as you agree to that. That's all.
15.
Okay.
All right, we're moving on to item 15, my last one. We have an update on attorney requests for proposals and clarity on city attorney usage in the interim. So a while ago, how long ago did we put out RFPs, Char? A month ago? They were due last Friday. We received 0 responses. But we got one today. We got one from an attorney. We haven't looked at it yet, and we were hoping that because of the Veterans Day holiday, there would be more filter in. We haven't seen anything. We had one, can I say who it was? Yeah. There was one attorney in the cities that responded that does a number of cities around here. And in the meantime, we have Alex from Bring in Person, and we do have a number of enforcement issues. 2 of them, I got another one today on VRBOs. But when Brad had to step aside, we never decided who to use in the interim. It was just because we appointed Brad, not his firm appointed Brad. So in the interim, until the council makes a decision on who to use for the non-labor type issues that we deal with, you know, whether it's planning and zoning or VRBO enforcement, we'd like permission to use Alex.
Maybe before doing so, I just can introduce myself for those that don't know who I am. My name's Alex Kuhn. I'm an attorney at Breen & Person Law Office. I've been there for 10 years. I've got a pretty extensive background in most types of law, including real estate issues. Obviously, our firm has an extensive background in city work. As you know, Brad's on hiatus for a while, and so I'm happy to step in while you guys, sort things out. If necessary, I'm happy to do that.
So just on an as-needed basis?
Yes, it would be on an as-needed basis. If, I get an email from Mike or somebody in council that says, appear, or if, I think you guys meet once a month, is that what it is, your meetings? And then if there are various, whether it's, like you just had this vacation issue today, certain issues that come up, it's kind of right in our wheelhouse. So I'm happy to help out in the interim.
Because your firm has helped us with the short-term rentals as well.
Okay.
You've done quite a bit with it, so I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah, make a motion.
I move that we use Mr. Kuhn in the interim until we figure out where we're going.
Okay, I second.
Any other discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
So are we going to consider attorneys that want to Zoom in? I know it was a definite no last time, but we should maybe take a look at that.
I think we'll probably have to.
Okay.
Have to what?
Did you send notice to the ones that would Zoom?
The meetings.
Not to ones that were only Zoom, no.
I'll just send those too. Do you agree? Do you agree to send to the attorneys on there that would Zoom?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think we should put
okay.
that as part
Go
of it.
ahead.
I think the one qualifier I've got is I want them to have a level of familiarity with Crow Wing County in this area and our issues.
But we sent out to all the attorneys in Crow Wing
Oh, we did, Marcia.
So let's,
But I still think.
like the two that came from Kennedy and Graven, and we interviewed them.
They didn't send one this time.
Do you want to, maybe they don't know about it, do you want to send an RFP to them too?
Sure. They came last time. They saw it on the league website. And it is on the league website now.
That's fine, if you would just be a courtesy to them. Thank you.
Are they worth looking at or worth? Oh, okay. So we have one who's applied. Okay.
Okay. But thank you, Alex. It's a good deal. And then I think Mike needs to forward to him those two ones. Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on to Park and Rec.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Excuse my voice, it's kind of cracking this evening.
No
First
more
item,
football games on Sunday before council
I
meetings.
suppose it was a good game, so. Item 1A here in front of you, you tasked me to look at our part-time wages. I looked at those and I'm recommending a $2 increase for my part-time staff, as well as Donna Kiefer, our Silver Sneakers instructor.
Fantastic. I'll make a motion that we increase the part-time employees and Donna Kiefer increase their salaries or wages by $2.
I enthusiastically second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, all in favor.
All right, item 1B, there's a second chance of trying to sell the Polaris. I don't know what bid we got back from Gov Deals. I know you provided it to me, I just don't have it in front of me right now.
It was $15,250.
And we're asking $16,500. So we did get a little bit more activity when we try to do sealed bids and advertise through the newspaper and Facebook. I would say we could do that again. We would just have to lower our minimum bid. We could look at 14.5.
You got a bid now for 15,250? Is that?
Yeah, but it didn't pull, I think they pulled the bid from Gov Deals. If you remember, they pulled the bid from Gov Deals. Gov Deals, they have a 13% surcharge after what we set for a minimum, and upon finding that out, they pulled out. So we had the 15.5.
I see.
From when we advertised via Facebook and the website, we wanted to venture to Gov Deals, still set it at the 16.5, didn't get that. I would propose bumping it down to 14.5, advertise again locally, and see what we can get.
Yeah.
I make a motion that you advertise at that price and see what we get. Need a second?
Motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carries.
Thank you. Item 1C, if you remember, I discussed this, I believe, at a budget meeting. We do not have sufficient insulation in our attic. Green Star met with me. I actually went up in the attic with him, and we're at about a R9 to R10. In a commercial building in Minnesota, you should be at R50. So their quote came back at 31.6. I did get an additional quote from another local contractor. I didn't even include it in my packet because it was about 63. I did reach out to 2 other contractors locally, and I did not get anything back from them. So my recommendation is to go with the 31.6 and get it done yet this fall. And funding would be from our CapEx fund balance, as discussed previously.
I'll make the motion to accept the quote for $31,600 to do the installation.
Hey, all in favor?
Green Star.
Aye. Opposed? Carries.
That's all I have. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, TJ.
Public Works?
All right, the first thing we had was a request from Jim Anderson to add an entrance into the parking lot off of Swan Drive. We need to have you guys approve that.
I'm sorry. I'll make a motion to approve that application for a entrance to the parking lot off of Swan Drive.
I'll second that.
Dave, I have a question.
Go ahead.
I went in, I was looking at it, and we drove in there, and it looks like there's a path, I don't know if it's vehicle or a pedestrian being built in there slowly,
Path on the side of Swan Drive or something?
inside that lot where that access is going to.
I
I
guess
was just
didn't-
curious. It's just a curiosity, nothing else.
I have no clue, but
Okay. Okay, go ahead, Dave.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to approve. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
and then we need approval for us to go up to public right-of-way between 11797 and 11805 Manhattan Point. You got a deal in your packet there. It shows you how we're gonna build the berm and that. We just need permission from you guys to go up there and get that done before the weather turns.
I'll make a motion to go fix that right away.
I'll second it.
And is that another one of the access points?
Yeah, this is the one you met us up there.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion
You
carries.
have a question out here, Dave.
I just want to clear the air. I got some information about who put that driveway in. So we can put that all to bed. I talked to Jim Renner. He was the original person that built that cabin. I only got 10 copies.
Jim Renner.
One's the picture
This is where Michelle went over.
of the driveway with no cabins there. I should have stated, I'm sorry. Oh, I got one.
That's fine, we can share them too.
We've already passed it. I mean, I don't know why.
Well, no, I just want, because there's going to be more work that may need to be done. I have damage on my property. It'll show you that that was already there. And here's the plant maps for 1926 that show that a road there. And that's, I highlighted the year on there.
Name and address when you get back to the mic.
There's a lot of confusion about, did I do that, or whatever, who did it? So, okay, bye.
He's not on the agenda. Why are we doing this?
I'm Brian Evenson. I live at 11805 Whitefish Avenue. I came here to get a vacation for that property. Said no because of who put that driveway in. Jim Renner, he bought that, or he looked at that place in 1979, and he took those pictures before he started to build. As you can see, that driveway goes almost to the bluff. And when he bought it, he was told that he could use that for a driveway. So him and whoever was going to have the other place next door at 1197. The only reason I brought this up is I just want the air cleared because it was in the paper about maybe we should fine me because I damaged, or somebody did or whatever. I just want that to be in the records that no one that built that cabin, put that driveway, and it was there probably, if you look at that map, or that plat, 1926 is when it was probably put in. So.
I don't think anybody was blaming you. They
No,
were
no,
saying
no, no, I didn't
property
say blame
owners.
me purposely, but
Property
there was
owners.
a lot of things, who did it?
Yeah.
I think the developer did it. So,
Thank you for looking into it.
well, yeah,
Appreciate
but
it.
what I'm getting at is, with this being done, that might take care of the part of the problem, but I still have my ravine hole. And we might have to look at that, you guys fixing that.
It's gonna come back to us forever.
Well, you had,
We're not-
basically you had your chance. I don't know what this is gonna cost you, but I got a contractor coming out there tomorrow to see how much that ravine is gonna cost to fix.
On
And-
your property, as far as I'm concerned, is your concern, not
Exact-
ours.
But your property caused, just like your lawyer
No.
said the other day, well, anyways,
No.
what I'm gonna have to do then is seek legal advice.
Because I'm not going to pay for damage that's
Right,
on your
okay,
property
yeah.
when you bought the property that way.
Yep, I did.
So-
But now it's getting worse, so unless it's fixed,
No.
well, I guess I'm not gonna worry about that. I just wanted to show you that, to clear the air, that
Okay.
nobody that built that house put that driveway in. The developer put it in, so.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Sorry, it seemed like I got a little impatient, but, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. Okay, Patrick, take off.
All right, Phil, did you want to talk about the next one? Sure. Since your name's on it?
So this is before you because at the last, we had an improvement hearing to talk about the 5-year road plan. And so the next step is, year one of that road plan is about $400,000 in seal coat work and $750,000 in mill and overlay work. If you want to proceed with that first year of the improvement plan, we have work to get done. If you want to do just the seal coat, you have work to get done. The timeframes typically are the county, I assume the city would do a seal coat project with the county, as you've done in the last few years. You need to get them your segments and their information by the end of November. So if you want to proceed with that, we can help you assist that getting to the county. The county would charge you 10% as well for whatever they end up getting for the bid on the seal coating. Second item is the mill and overlay. The mill and overlay is 2.6 miles in year one. It's estimated to be $750,000. The county will allow you to include that as part of their overall mill and overlay plan if you want to. The benefits are, kind of like Tim was talking earlier, the more you get in the pot, you get a better, likely a lower cost per ton on the blacktop. Their requirement is, though, that you will need to get your plans to them. By the end of December, they will charge you 3% of the contract, of whatever the low bid cost is, on top of what you would pay us to put together the plans, if you proceed with year one.
What is the mill and overlay project? Have you identified it?
It's Daggett
It's Daggett
Pine.
Can you get that done by the end of December for the county if we throw the mill and overlay in?
Yeah,
You can?
yeah, they're
Okay.
simple plans. Most of the cost is on the construction side of it, the observation.
Okay.
They're not the typical plans, they're very simple.
Well, I'll make a motion that we do the road plan for the first year and have the county, throw it in the county's pool or contract.
Marcia?
Does it go all the way out to the island, or where's it?
No, it stops short of that. We mill and overlay beyond, or we do a seal coat beyond that with some patching.
So where does it stop? Where is it?
2.5 miles from
66?
66.
So that's,
It's out.
It's pretty
to-
close, it's not.
It's out to the bridge, right? Out to the bridge?
I
I'm
don't
pretty sure.
recall. I just know that
Pretty
there's an
close.
area back there at the end of that we think the city probably has to do a little bit of patch. You've probably seen the area where it drops
When you come
off.
around that curve.
Yeah, some patch area, and
You're
then
gonna
you
do
can
that?
seal coat quite a bit of it, so.
Oh, you're not milling overlaying
So if you
that?
proceed with this, you'd
we're
be
just
doing
gonna
11 and a
patch
half miles of seal coat, 2.6 miles of the mill and overlay. You would be doing the Daggett Pine. Mill and overlay, you'd be taking care of West Shore Drive as a seal coat. Again, those are a couple of the,
But the 2.5 miles of Daga Pine Road to Mill and Overlay is 750 grand?
we're using that budgetary number, and that's based on what we've seen in the past in other places. So if you get a better, if the county comes in because you're on a bigger pie, it could go down.
We'll get a better
Hopefully
deal.
go down.
We're gonna assess for that, right? It's not,
Yes.
you going down.
No.
Mike can talk about that, because I raised that question.
Well, my question is, Marcia, did your motion include both of them, the seal coat and the mill and overlay?
Yeah, because we're going to put it,
I couldn't hear.
the rest of the council wants to throw the mill and overlay into the county project, right? So it's cheaper? Makes sense.
I'm good with that.
Then we need to, if we're going to assess for a mill and overlay, we'll need to probably contact Nagel or whatever that
Right,
firm's name is.
You'd want to contact Nagel, and in this case, you likely would not do it under the 429 process. If you choose to issue bonds to pay for this project, you'd issue it under the same statute that you approved the plan under. Then you'd pledge tax levies, then you'd footnote the bond such that, something to the extent that, future bond payments, future tax levies may be reduced by certain assessments, and you'd assess them that way. Then you don't have to meet the 20% under the 429 process.
Right, but we still have to,
Still have to
if
get
we're
get
assessing, we
appraisal.
still have to notify the property owners and have an improvement. So I guess we can get started on that too. So I'd make a motion that we hire Nagel to come and do whatever they do, their appraisals.
Vote on the first one, then do that one.
Oh, I thought you did. I'm sorry.
So the motion was to approve the road reconstruction.
The seal coating and the.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Now the Nagel.
Marcia, there was discussion at Public Works on whether or not they may or may not need a new appraisal. We may be able to use the
That
other.
must be 3 or 4 years old.
It is, but it gave a range, so it would be beneficial, in my opinion, it's low cost to get the actual appraisal done, but if you wanted to have an idea, you do have one for 4 years ago.
They really didn't do appraisals. It was
Oh, it was
property
opinion.
benefit, right?
Yeah,
I don't know
opinion.
what they called it, but.
Opinion of market benefit.
Opinion of market
Yep.
value. I knew
And
there was a
I can't remember what
fancy
it
thing.
was for mill and overlay. You settled on 1,000, but I think it was.
It was
that
from
the low
1,000
end.
to 4.
1,000 to 4, yeah, so.
So we could use that and use it, go up.
You could use,
Inflationary.
what I was thinking is if you were making some immediate contacts, you would have that initial range that you could work from. You could get the actual opinion of market benefit if you wanted as well. But it's a timing thing. I wanted to get these plans out. End of December comes quick.
Do you guys want to do a new one, or do you want to use the old one?
I would use the old one.
You would?
If we can. But I would also question how much the assessment's going to be on that.
Well, that's what we decide.
That's
It's
what I think
between
you
1 and 4.
decide. I mean, it sounds like it's a range of 1 to 4,000 is what you heard before. So.
So Phil, how can we do that? Because, we saw a substantial jump in our market value last year and again this year. So the benefit would be more.
Well,
There'd be a different range.
Well, the last we agreed is that the mill and overlay was going to be 1,000, was going to be the assessment.
Well, why don't we put this back to Public Works to discuss?
Well,
The
I'm
commission.
looking at
I'm
Tom
talking
while
about-
I'm
sorry.
saying this, Aaron.
the whole thing is that it's the improvement, the value that it's going to go up just for that road. It's not any other factors, is it? In that opinion?
Yeah. Yeah, we're not doing the 429, and I've done the 429 too many times in my life. I know it inside and out. What he's talking about, I don't know the process as well. If it's, is it the exact same thing? You just need to give is there a preliminary improvement hearing and then a final assessment? Is it noticed the same way? That's what I'm not familiar with.
It's similar, and we'd use our bond counsel to do that. But I would think that you'd want to get an updated, I mean, it's not that much to do it.
No.
You should probably have current numbers. Those appraisals
Okay.
were several years old when we did accept them.
Well, that's why I asked him 4 or 5, and he said there's such a, we took the low range, 1,000, and we could have went up to 4, but, yeah, I don't have a problem with getting a new one.
I don't either. It's gonna be more accurate.
18, 20 grand for the appraisal?
No,
It was
like,
It's only a few $100.
yeah, I think
Oh,
I think it might be 1,500 to 2,000.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's only one road, so.
It's
You're
low
talking
cost.
a
And it's only the two.
$800,000 project to spend
So-
$1,500 on the appraisal. That's gonna give you guys the